filmmaker in Nigeria. He has worked with Olamide, Wizkid, Burna Boy, Techno, Kiss Daniel, Fireboy DML, Fowls, Timaya, Naira Marley, and many others.
Pass it down. So I put the Ferragamo when I pass it down. Put some Gucci on that booty cause she kill a man. That's why she don't want to go, she wanna stick around. But she still say that she love me cause I'm sexy. And I tell her that she lying, that she vexing. She be screaming, I be screaming, we be reckless. But I know that she be liking makeup sexy.
Number 3, Meji Alabi. This London-born Nigerian filmmaker, director, photographer, and producer has worked alongside Beyonce, Burna Boy, Wizkid, Davido, Tiwa Savage, Popcan, Goldlink, and Nasty C. He directed Shay Shay's Murder in 2014, a move that gave him the desired attention in Nigeria. Alabi also worked with Wizkid on his Made in Lagos album. He's a co-founder of JM Films with Jimmy Adesoya.
You know my style, you know big chance, then it's all up, eBay. If you say you get the man, then you wanna try, you could go die, baby. You've been a landslide for a long time, but then no one believe it. All of them come find you one try, but you do want me for easy.
Number 4, Dami Twitch. His original name is Owolabi Oluwadamilola. Twitch started with photography in 2013 before going to full music production in 2017. That was the year he shot his first music video for Burna Boy and Yonda. He has gone on to shoot visuals for Fowls, Burna Boy, Olamide, Lil Kesh, Victor A.D., Simi, Peruzzi, Meokun, Leah, and Davido. Number 5, HG2 Filmworks. Olaolu Olabode Folarin, also known as HG2 Filmworks, is a Nigerian-American music video director, graphic designer, entrepreneur, and cinematographer. Olabode began his production journey as a graphic designer and later went into full-time music video production in 2010. He has directed music videos for big-name artists like D'banj, Kiss Daniel, Dami Crane, Reminisce, Nice, and Scales. You will agree with me that these directors bend over backwards to churn out massive videos for our entertainment. And such, they deserve more than enough accolades for their contributions. So whenever you watch your favorite artist videos, always remember the men behind the scene.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo labeled traitor by a group. And court sacks ex-Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara. This is Plus Politics and I'm Kofi Bonjones. You're welcome. The Osinbajo support movement says it knows the group behind the Judas who betrayed his master posters that have flooded different parts of the country, which have described the vice president. Following Osinbajo's declaration of his intention to run for the office of president, a poster likening him to the biblical character Judas Iscariot and accusing him of betrayal was circulated on social media. And of course, these pictures were also posted at different parts of the city. Now, joining us to discuss this, we have two guests, but we'll start with the convener of the Progressives Youth Group in the All Progressives Congress. He was with us yesterday. Idris Jibril, it's a pleasure to have you back.
It's a pleasure too, Kofi. Thank you so much for having me here today.
All right, and of course, along the line, we'll be joined by Alistair Wilcox. But let's start with you, Idris Jibril. Have you seen these posters either in person, offline, or on the internet, social media, online?
Yeah, the poster has actually flooded the social media. You know, posters like that are eye catchers. They get posted everywhere, reshared, retweeted, and it's all over. We've seen it.
Indeed, indeed. So you have seen these posters in Abuja?
Yeah, I've seen it too.
Interesting. What went through your mind when you saw the caption with the vice president's face, Judas?
Well, that is how low some people can be. It actually exposed the dirty part of our politics here in this country. You know, Judas is a character from the Bible, and I don't think such character should be used to liken anybody at all. It's a new low, actually. For me, it's a new low.
Interesting. Is there an indication, as far as you're concerned, you're a member of the All Progressives Congress and you're the convener of the Young Progressives Group, is there any indication as to who is behind these posters?
You see, we are not even interested in who is behind it, but definitely we know whoever is behind it feel threatened. They don't actually like the fact that the vice president declared his intention to throw his hat in the ring, and they feel that his presence is actually going to thwart their lifelong ambition. So to us, we feel his presence is for national interests. So whoever feels threatened should wait and go through the process. If they emerge or we emerge victorious, so be it. We all remain members of the same political party.
We do know, I mean, we're well aware, and this is public knowledge, it's well documented, the relationship between Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the so-called national leader of the All Progressives Congress, and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Indeed, they have a political relationship. Some would even say that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the political benefactor of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Would you believe a narrative that says Tinubu's supporters and loyalists are behind this posters flooding Abuja and other parts of the country?
You see, at this point, we don't want to heat up the polity. We don't want to throw allegation. We actually want to be sure who is responsible for this before we go all out and throw back our own sucker punch back at them. But we don't want to throw allegation at any camp so far. We believe in the capacity and the integrity and character of our own candidate, and we are selling him based on his integrity and character. We don't really care about who else is doing this or that, some other places. We just want to sell our candidate and sell him based on his merits. And that is what we want to do. We want to play this politics as clean as it can be.
Some people, some people have pointed to the fact that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in one of his speeches recently, said that he is ready to play dirty as far as the 2023 election is concerned. He's ready to get dirty, rather, as dirty as a pig. Do you think that people should hold on to that as a reason to say Bola Tinubu or his supporters are behind these Judas Iscariot posters?
In our own context here in Nigeria, we go as low into the gutter to ensure we make a point or to discredit an opponent. But I think that is a very negative way to go. In marketing, I think you talk more about yourself than talking about your opponent. I don't even want to call names here. I want to concentrate on the candidate I believe in. I don't want to mention any name. Whoever is responsible, we will meet at the primary election, and if it's an opposition party, we will meet at the poll.
Indeed, about 3 days ago, the media offices of both gentlemen we've mentioned so far on the program, the media offices of the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and the APC leader Bola Ahmed Tinubu they issued separate statements on 19th of April precisely, warning the public to beware of plots by unscrupulous persons against their principles. These were separate statements. So when we hear the PYO through his office saying there are plots by unscrupulous elements, we don't know whether he's referring to Tinubu or some other person. And when we hear from Tinubu's office that there are plots by unscrupulous elements, we don't know if he's referring to PYO or his group. So is it possible that someone like Professor Yemi Osinbajo and his team can instigate something like this for political gain?
You know, Prof in his character is quite a gentleman to go about throwing negative punches at people. Definitely. And all his supporters, all pro-Sibanjo support group have also, they've imbibed that character to sell the Prof based on his merits and to ignore any tantrum and dose from other opponents. So I don't think Prof referring to unscrupulous element meant he's referring to any other camp. Probably he's talking about the media castigation or the media war that has been meted out on him wherever he goes. All over the media, people have brought up accusations that are actually unsubstantiated anywhere.
But the latest we're hearing
Hello?
is... Yes.
Hello?
Alistair Wilcox, are you there, please?
Yes, I've joined and I'm waiting to be brought in.
Oh, fantastic. Nice to have you. Before I come over to you, let me just quickly round this up with Jibril. Idris Jibril, the latest is that the Osinbajo Support Movement OSM, which I know you know the group we're talking about, is saying that they know the group behind Judas who betrayed his master poster. They're saying this is the latest. This has been dragged over the last 6 days. The latest is that they're saying they know those who are behind this particular poster, and they've also gone on to say that in a statement that the prime suspect is an Abuja-based graphics designer from Osun State who has denied working for the former Lagos governor's campaign team. But they're saying that records of his phone chats with a member of the team contradicted his statement to the police. Adejuwon Babatunde, who is director of media and publicity of the Osinbajo Support Movement, in a statement claimed that chats and call logs of a suspect arrested, this is a graphic designer, by the security agencies indicate that a campaign team working for Tinubu was responsible for the posting of these what he called blasphemous posters. I think we would direct that question to Alistair Wilcox. Alistair, what do you say to this? That they have discovered that the campaign team of Tinubu is behind this?
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Alistair. Yes, please go on.
Okay, thank you very much. I joined late and I want to salute my brother who has started the program. I joined late, so I'm not a member of any of the campaign group. I will pick like an observer. And as an observer, what is happening within the politics, especially within the APC camp, and narrowing down to between Tinubu and Osinbajo is for me rather quite unfortunate, very unfortunate. The issue of Judas and no Judas came up in the week of Easter. The week of Easter. It was like, it started like a joke, or like, all the social media comedy. Social media has a lot of comedians. And it was like, oh, this is the week when Judas betrayed Jesus, and that's also the week Vice President Osinbajo was declaring his interest to run for the presidency and thus betraying Tinubu. So I took it as a laugh. Of course, I laughed over it, and I never gained this much of a ground. But people should risk as cheap as it could get. Nonsense. Two men involved here, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo. They are no mean men in politics in terms of support. So narrowing down to Judas and Jesus Christ, I think for me it's not only blasphemous, It's very, very childish, and that will not give anybody any mileage. Neither will you reduce the mileage of Oshibajo. He wouldn't give Bola any mileage. Sincerely, maybe people are trying to whip up sentiment. Yes, I might fall for I as an individual, unless because I might be tilted towards that direction, but I don't think it will give Bola Tinubu any mileage. Just like I heard your other guests talking about, it's issues based now that people should be talking about. If you ask me, am I happy that the vice president is contesting? I'm neither here nor there. I also know the sacrifices Bola Tinubu has made for the country and for the party, right from the time of ACN. And I also know how the vice president emerged as the vice president during the 2015 election. Some of the things that made him to emerge. But will that now stop a man from exercising his right? For me, I don't think so. And so anybody resorting to Judas and to Jesus Christ, for me, is rather too petty, too low, and it will even be a negative to anybody who is thinking about it. And I'm not worried about, I don't think the police has anything to do about tracing who printed the poster. It's all over the internet. I mean, when Buhari was sick, his obituary was all over the internet. So, I mean, even when his son had an accident, his obituary was all over the internet. So those things do not matter, because the internet has become a junkyard for all kinds of nonsense. So it shouldn't matter to anybody.
But Lester, apart from it being on the internet, these posters are also seen around Abuja.
Yes, I mean, like I said, it's low as far as it's a low point in terms of electioneering campaign. Yes, of course, like the other man said, policy itself is a dirty game. So people want to go too dirty, but for me, it's quite a low point of being dirty. It's something that wouldn't give anybody a mileage. Let the poster be in Port Harcourt. I'm in Port Harcourt right now. I've not seen the poster. Let it be in Abuja. Let it be anywhere. Posters don't sell campaign. Posters only help people to. I mean, posters really do not matter in campaigns. In real campaign, when the issues are brought down, I think for me, the two gentlemen have enough issues to sell themselves. Their supporters should stop all this madness. I think it is supporters that are causing this problem.
But Alista, you're blaming the supporters.
They are the ones causing this problem.
Yeah, Alista, you're blaming the supporters, saying that they should stop this madness, as you put it. But the Tinubu support group, the Bola Tinubu media office came out to say that he is not behind it. Their team is not behind it. That this is those behind the posters intend to provoke anger against the person and aspiration of Tinubu. But that has been proven wrong by the Oshibajo support movement, who are saying that they were able to apprehend the graphic designer behind this, and that when the police went through his call logs, his chat, what they saw was that he was having WhatsApp interaction with a key member of the Tinubu campaign team.
Well, it doesn't matter for me. Yes, if the perpetrator is found, and again, what are they finding him for? It's politics they are playing. What are they finding the perpetrator for? It's politics they are playing. And if you choose to call Oshibajo a Judah, it's politics. Do I support it? No. But for a police to now start saying he's chasing whoever published that article, for me, it's also a distraction and not even the work of the police. If in political campaign, people are called names, people are called worse names, people are called all kinds of names in political campaign. So I do not understand why the police even start chasing who published that. But for me, the gross of it is the fact that this thing is being done and perpetrated by the support group. Sometimes it could also be the opposition. Because really, I will tell you for free, the opposition is more happy that Oshibajo should run against Tinubu than even the real supporters of Tinubu, of Oshibajo. The opposition is more interested in the PYO, Yemo Oshibajo, running against Tinubu than even the APC establishment is interested in them running. So as far as I'm concerned, it could be the opposition and the support groups that are overzealous in their activities. So that is for me, and I tell you, it's a very low point. in terms of the political campaign, because it has no issues. It's just some of the yabbies and abuses that is there and tantrums that comes with politics. And it's not what the police or anybody should start chasing about, because it is mere political statements.
All right. I'll come back to you, Idris Jibril.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think this says about the Tinubu campaign as a whole? That the media office, the same media office that came out to say that they or their principal was not behind this, from what we hear from the Oshibajo support movement, they've seen records of chats, phone chats between the graphic designer of this Judas poster and the media office, in fact, two key members of the media office for Tinubu. What does this say about the Tinubu campaign and their strategy?
Well, Kofi, I think as much as the OSM decided to dig deeper to find out who is responsible for this, which Alesta has actually said is actually unnecessary. It's not necessary to go that deep to find out who is responsible for this. Definitely, when statements like this or when findings like this come out, there will be a disclaimer. And the Tinubu campaign organization just disclaimed, these support groups sometimes are overzealous. They want to prove a point. They want to be seen that they are working towards this particular goal or for their particular candidate. And sometimes they step out of line. And sometimes they go contrary to the strategy that they have mapped out for themselves. I am not standing in for Tinubu campaign organization, but I just want to believe that the person of Tinubu personally cannot come out and castigate an Oshibajo. He has repeatedly spoke so virtuously about Oshibajo. So I believe he will not come out and tell us today again that the same man has spoken so beautifully about is a Judas. So that is not Tinubu. He cannot do that. The records are out there in public. We can check it out.
But Jibril, you're aware that a week ago, Bola Tinubu was approached by a reporter who asked him, what do you have to say about your son, who is contesting for the office of president? And he vehemently, he responded saying, none of my sons is old enough to contest for the office of president. And some people took that as a very strong and hard statement against vice president from his erstwhile political benefactor, Bola Tinubu. So this picture you're painting about everything being yummy-chummy between them, is it really the case, looking at that statement by Tinubu?
Well, the vice president, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, is not his son in that sense. I know some statements like this can be given many interpretations, but I think their relationship is more of a mentor and a mentee, and this is the norm of politics globally. Tinubu himself was mentored by the late MKO Abiola, and Abiola himself received his mentorship from somewhere. So Tinubu gave an Oshibajo a chance because Oshibajo was actually qualified and competent for the job. He was not just picked up and given the favor. It wasn't a favor. He was given a job, a task to accomplish, and a task he accomplished beautifully. And before even Tinubu, he had other mentors who had exposed him to the legal profession and have taken him to higher grounds before Tinubu met him there and gave him Attorney General of the state. So for Tinubu to say his son is not old enough to contest an election, I believe he's talking about his biological children and not his political associates.
Lester Wilcox, some political, observers, indeed members of the All Progressives Congress, have said that have accused the vice president of derailing from the plan that was set in motion when he was pushed forward to represent the APC as a running mate to the flag bearer at the time, candidate Muhammadu Buhari. So some have accused the vice president of derailing from the plan, which was, you're going there because Tinubu cannot go there. Of course, Tinubu himself has said that he could not be the running mate because that would mean a Muslim ticket. So is the vice president biting the political hand that fed him?
Well, I have always been an observer all my life. I've not been in the thick and thin of politics. So I don't know how the politicians think. But from a casual observation and the keen watcher and a keen, ardent supporter of the APC. Some of the issues that led to the emergence of the vice president is very clear to me and to so many people and the entire public. Like you said, it was obvious as at the time that Tinubu contracted, which was the major brain or arrow behind the APC, approached Muhammad Buhari and contracted him to be the president and even worked towards him emerging. Of course, use all his what they call that structures and everything, political sagacity to ensure that the president emerged. Of course, the idea was for him to be a vice president, but when it was becoming obvious, that the so-called Muslim ticket could not flash at that time, of course, he has to nominate somebody. And nobody would know the fact that he nominated only the vice president, who haven't excelled as Attorney General of Lagos State from 1999 to 2007. And he has been, after that Attorney General, the vice president has just left. He was not even in politics. He just left and was continuing his legal profession. And Tinubu went and bring him back, being a competent, competent and very competent, and he can vouch for to run the office. And of course, in all fairness, he did that office credibly. So if there was an agreement between them, and Lester Wilcox and several observers are not aware, I'm sure even my brother in the studio is not aware if there was any meeting, discussions behind the scene between the two men, of course, which can also be inferred to have existed. But my brother in the studio is not aware, and Lester Wilcox, I'm not aware of any meeting that states categorically you are holding this office in trust for me and all whatnot. But looking at it from the general perspective, and that's why I say I think the supporters are the cause of this problem. I'm sure the supporters and the opposition are the cause of this problem. Looking at it generally, I mean, common sense. I mean, natural common sense dictates that. Look, if a man gives you an opportunity, and then in the fact that the man is interested in an opportunity that you are holding in trust, it's also fair that you don't breach that trust. Politics or no politics, mentor or no mentor, mentee or no mentee, father and daughter and son or no father and son. If somebody has given you an opportunity for you to excel in a position and that person needs that position, I think it's also fair that and natural justice and natural consequences that you don't bite that finger that fed you. I'm not saying in totality that the Tinubu fed the vice president. He's a very competent man. I mean, in all to his right, but if you go and watch Ekiti campaign 2014, the campaign in Ekiti, where Asiwaju said, "I am qualified for this position. I am very the tape is there. But for the interest of the country and for my party, I stepped aside and pushed others forward." I think something like that. I'm paraphrasing it. I mean, Ekiti campaign 2014 of the All Political Congress in Ekiti. I think 2014 or early 2015. I can't remember the exact time. The video are all in the. So this is a man that has made sacrifices. So for people who do not know the nitty-gritty of relationship between these two men, for people who do not know the arrangement between these two men, for the people who are pushing either side of the party to break the bones of each other, I think it's not fair to even the vice president of Asiwaju himself. I'm not taking sides in this issue. Both men are competent. Asiwaju is not a mean man in politics, not a pushover. So he can even rightly say that none of his sons is grown up enough to challenge him for the presidency. He has so many sons politically. I understand that Fayemi wanted to has also gone to seek to contest. So that's also his son. And so even if he says that, he might have several meanings, because this is a man that has built men. And when you are built men, you are, it can naturally come that you are their father. It doesn't have to be biological. But as far as I'm concerned, really, it is the supporters and to a large extent the opposition that is trying to create this issue between these two men. These are two men that has gotten along in life very well. So whoever is pushing each other, I think they should stop. And it's time that common sense should come. Nobody should begin to belittle Asiwaju or belittle the vice president or begin to cast aspersion on each of these two men. These are men that are accomplished colossus in terms of political sagacity.
All right. Alyssa, thank you very
So
much.
why
So
so-called supporters
we can't forget that
wants to
speech.
now put span in the wheel of their progress?
Thank you, Alistair. And finally, from you, Idris Jibril, I'm sure you remember that speech where, in the 2015 campaign, Bola Metimbu did indeed, like Alistair say that he was qualified to be the vice president of Nigeria, running mate to Muhammadu Buhari candidate at the time, but he decided to sacrifice. So does this not therefore cast the vice president as a betrayer, as somebody who is not a team player, as somebody who probably is selfish and cannot be trusted and isn't loyal? Because he wouldn't be there if Tinubu had not said, okay, you go for me.
Not at all, Kofi. You see, BC Akande's autobiography captured a lot of events for us to go back to and read the event that happened prior to the merger of the ACN and AMPP and some of the legacy parties that met together to form the APC. That book is rich with a lot of history for us to go through. We understand very well and we appreciate the sacrifice that Tinubu has made for the party and also for the emergence of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. But I will ask people to go back to that book, read it, and see what transpired. It was succinctly captured. Things that transpired were succinctly captured by BC Akande, who was the major player in the events of 2014 to the merger and to the emergence of APC in 2015. And he captured everything that transpired in his autobiography. So I will ask audience and other people to go and read so that we know exactly what transpired between them. We know that the Muslim ticket will not fly because the country is already polarized religiously. So he was asked to nominate people. Lo and behold, none of his nomination was even Yemi Osinbajo, according to BC Akonde's book. So it was much later that the Yemi Osinbajo came into the equation. We appreciate what Tinubu has done, but none of this amount to betrayal. I think the way we peddle the word betrayal will make young people like us start doubting who will take jobs from.
Are you saying that Tinubu did not recommend Yemi Osinbajo to be the running mate to Buhari?
There were 3 names, according to the book. 3 names were recommended, and there was a favorite. And it was much later that people like the BC Akonde and Amosu had to prevail over reasons that Yemi Osinbajo should be included in the list and sent to General Buhari to make his choice. And those 3 names were sent to Buhari. General Buhari made his choice and chose Professor Yemi Osinbajo. So young people like us will start doubting who will take our jobs from, because tomorrow when you want to grow, somebody will say, no, you shouldn't go into this area because I have ventured into this field before. It's going to amount to betrayal. Why should that be? The field is quite large. We've not actually gotten a candidate yet. They are all aspirants within the political space, within the political party, until a single candidate emerges, which we all are going to come together to support anybody that emerges in the party. At this point, the way we peddle the word betrayal, if one candidate emerges, dog eat dog, who is going to campaign for the other person?
All right. We have to leave it at that. I want to thank you, Idris Jibril, convener of the Osinbajo Youth Group. I want to thank you very much for your time.
Progressive Youth Group, sir.
Progressive Youth Group. I apologize. Slip of the tongue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us via Zoom. Alistair Wilcox, fantastic to have had you again today. Thank you for joining us on via Zoom as well from Port Harcourt. Appreciate your time. Thank you for staying with us. We'll take a short break now. When we return, ex-Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, sacked by court. We'll look at that and the intricacies behind that involvement.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Everybody wants new Nigeria. Nobody wants to continue with this rusted system that is not working for anybody except those who are in government and their cronies and people around them. And when we go to the New Nigeria People's Party, we are happy with the New Nigeria and we are happy with New Nigeria People's Party. And you see, we are not only looking for party with the majority of people. We are looking for party that has a potential of receiving people who are of like minds. The party is very much concerned about the security in this country. Security is key. In fact, in the past, we were taking security for granted because we believe that every responsible government, not only in Nigeria, but across the country, will ensure the security of lives and properties. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in this country that the government in power cannot really say that they have done that. We have seen what happened just recently from here to Kaduna, where the train was attacked. So many people were killed, some were being injured. Many people were being taken into the bush. As we are speaking now, they are there with the bandits. Only God knows what is happening to them. We have seen young men and women, especially the young doctor that we have seen being killed.
Welcome back. A federal high court in Abuja has sacked Yakubu Dogara from the House of Representatives and declared his seat vacant. Mr. Dogara, who represents Bogoro, Das Federal Constituency of Bauchi State, was the Speaker of the House of Representatives between 2015 and 2019. The judge, D.U. Okorowo, on Friday, today, ruled that Mr. Dogara's defection from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress was wrong and meant that he should vacate the legislative seat. Now, joining us to discuss this, we have a constitutional lawyer, Chief Festus Oguche. Chief Oguche, thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thanks, Kofi, for inviting me.
It seems we're having, yet again to try to understand what exactly the position of the law and the Constitution is as regards moving from one party to the other. We have recent cases in point. We have the David Umahi and the Ebonyi State case. We have the Cross River State case involving Governor Benedict Benayade and his deputy Varesu. And you have, of course, the members of the Cross River State House of Assembly and 2 members of the House of Representatives from Cross River State. What is going on? What should we make of all these cases with this one now that has sacked the former speaker?
Yes, your question is quite apt. What is going on? But to recall that this has been the tradition ever since we returned to democracy in 1999. It's somewhat becoming something like the norm that persons can defect from one political party to the other. That is not democratic. It's not true of democratic tradition. Apparently, we've lost our way, and we are groping in the dark towards a political end that has no meaning at all. Defections are very, very serious, and I know that these gale of defections that are currently going on with people jumping ship from one party to the other, they don't start today. If you recall, immediately upon the coming into power of the All Progressives Congress, there was this I won't even call it defection. It was more of a migration from one party to the other. A lot of those of the PDP were migrating to that place because maybe some say it provides a better umbrella for their protection from arrest and prosecution on corrupt matters. And on it went. And it is principally because the political parties as they existed are not rooted in philosophy. Or else you see that it is very difficult for one to just wake up overnight, maybe a Democrat, to wake up overnight and say he's a Republican today. Or for somebody in the Labour Party to wake up overnight and say he belongs to this other party. These are political parties that are rooted in philosophy. And once those philosophies are the guiding principles of these political parties, it will be difficult for one to be conservative today and be liberal the next day. And that tells also the level of maturity of our political elites and the level of democratic norm we apply and the constitutional practice that come into play. I think it's a very unhealthy development. The Supreme Court had given legal interpretation to it, and it conforms to the standards all over the world. That if you defect to a political party and you're in an elective position, you cannot go with the votes. The votes do not belong to you. They say the votes belong to the political party in our own jurisprudence, but it's not even the political party that has those votes. The votes belong to the people who voted it and who are still active and alive within the demography of their existence. So somebody has even suggested that votes carry with them a juristic personality. It's not something you carry from one place to the other. And that was the issue we raised immediately upon the death of Prince Abubakar Audu when the election over the governorship in Kogi State was going on, over the possibility of the transferability of votes. But now it has become the norm in our political society that once you can see somebody in one political party today and the next day he's in the next political party and he wants to carry the votes that does not belong to him along with them, which is totally wrong.
Chief Oguche, some political observers and commentators, analysts...
I'm not getting you clearly, Kofi.
Yeah. Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, yes.
Yes. Now, some political analysts have said that we need to separate the morality of the situation and our emotions from the letter. We need to have a separation of our understanding that there is a difference between the morality or the rightness of what is going on and what the law says in print, in black and white. So you are saying that it's wrong to be voted into an office, a political position or office on the platform of one party and then go to another party with the mandate that was given to that party. Fine. But what is the position of the Nigerian constitution, which is a ground norm of the federation?
See, you don't get all the Supreme Court has even stated it in DSS against Agbakoba. You will not expect the Constitution to set out every detail of provision regarding all situations. You construe the Constitution both in its letters and in its spirit. And I'm saying that it doesn't have to be contained in any provision of the Constitution for anybody to understand that there's immorality in moving from one political party to the other. If you're in an elected position, if the position you're occupying is by the mandate of the people, and that has been the norm across the world in every democracy. And this has been entrenched as a tradition, which cannot for any reason or any shade of imagination be circumvented by any provision of whatever provision there is in the Constitution. I know the Constitution is silent in the area of governors and all that, but it does not mean there's a lacuna. You won't expect the Constitution to spell out everything. If you move from this political party to that, if this political party
but Chief Oguche, the Constitution is a ground norm, and it's what is the Bible of the nation.
Ground norm, I agree with you, Kofi. But like I said, there's what we call traditions. There's what we call norms, and we are practicing a constitutional democracy. So it's a combination of these principles that you find in a democratic culture, these doctrines, these things that combine between the Constitution and the principles of democracy that apply. To the extent that I understand, the right to vote is a fundamental right. and the vote belongs to people. And once that vote is cast, it becomes a representation of the expression of their will. And you ask me, if you express your will in a particular way towards a particular direction, an individual can take it and take it to another direction. It's a matter of morality. The Supreme Court had, in the case of Fedeco against Mohammed Goni, which I think is the locus classicus on the sections, had stated that defecting from one political party to another is the highest level of political immorality. It says it is malevolent. Look out for that authority. The Fedeco against Mohammed Goni. And that is the standard across the world, particularly if you're dealing with people who are in elective positions. If you have the mandate of the people, the votes do not belong to you. There's this erroneous impression that's been bandied all over the place that, well, the Supreme Court has said it belongs to political parties. It doesn't even belong to political parties either. The thing about defection, in the United Kingdom, if you defect, it calls for a by-election. Hello.
Yes, but Chief Oguche, if we're to go back to the statements by the honourable justices, we look at the case of David.
I'm not getting you clearly. Can you speak a little
yes.
closer?
If we're to go back to the statements of our lords, the honourable justices, we have the case of David Umahi that went on appeal. And of course, you look at the case of Ben Ayade, the judgment of which relied on the statement of the Court of Appeal regarding David Umahi's appeal or case. I'm not quoting these judges, but they said that yes, indeed, the actions of these governors were immoral, unjustifiable, so on and so forth. I remember listening to your colleague Michael Zekome S.A.N., Chief Michael Zekome S.A.N., who defended Ayade in his case. He says, but no matter how immoral they may seem, that the Constitution does not allow any court to take away the mandate of a governor of a state, that they had laid down procedures for removal of governors of states. And you're talking about morality.
There's an extent to which you lend credence to the pronouncements or the decisions of the courts of Nigeria. There's a recent report of the State Department of the United States on the judiciary. And it tells a lot of volumes about maybe the inclination of the justice system and the fact that there are so many inadequacies here and there, and things that pander to indiscretion and travesty. We were having that discussion the other time, and they all are agreed that in spite of the analysis by the learned S.A.N. who you mentioned, it is very, very clear that it's a situation that is unenvisaged, that the proper interpretation to be given is a situation where somebody defects. As at that point, he is not the governor, and the principles governing Atiku against Obasanjo, those authorities that was quoted, they do not apply. Because at that time he has shifted, so you don't bring those principles that is the sitting governor. He became governor by virtue of that mandate, and so long as that mandate is no longer with him, he has shifted ground. And immediately upon the judgment of Umahi, I didn't know what caused all these delays, because I expected that judgment would be implemented immediately and get him vacate office. But then we saw how the judiciary was busy running over themselves, the judges running over themselves, issuing out injunctions, stopping his moving out of government house in Ebonyi State. Until then, the matter did not the judgment of Justice Teku, which ignited all these fireworks, I don't think it was appealed, but then there's another judgment of the High Court in Ebonyi State which was appealed, and the judges in Enugu Court of Appeal, Enugu Division, came up with a contrary view that, well, he remains. And I quite disagree with that. I don't know whether that judgment is appealed, so that I know the extent to which I can make this analysis, because I know that once a matter is sub judice, you don't discuss on it on the media. But to the best that I understand, I think that the judges truly know that, well, there's been some bit of judicial failures connected with what the country is going through now. I mean, in terms of want of decency and want of democratic value and want of societal and national importance to our existence. And I mean, it goes to show also that because the judicial system has failed in its role to uphold the Constitution or even to uphold the nobility of the judicature, to the extent that some of these interpretations are warped. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a recent U.S. report on Nigeria, the Nigerian judiciary, which is very damning and I think is very correct. So we don't have to lay so much credence in that, because some of these judgments, I know that if it were in the 70s, 80s, Nigerian political system cannot stand. But then what I understand, what I know is that when you defect and you have the mandate of the people, you don't go with that mandate, you drop that mandate, and for the fact that if you agree with me, and that's the point of flaw also, that the right to vote is a fundamental right. Of course, they are not talking about votes that are inalienable. We are talking about the transferability of votes, which also pertains to transferability of fundamental rights, which is impossible. You don't transfer them, you don't alienate. In the proper mode or direction of a democratic practice, if the occupant of an elective office defects, the first thing to do is to consult the owners of the vote, the people that voted. They say that maybe elections are very expensive, but nothing is too big to be done to get things right. They say what doing is what doing right. We do it correctly. It calls for fresh elections because the person moving cannot move with the votes that I cast as an expression of my own fundamental rights to freedom of information, to freedom of association, to freedom of thoughts. The vote carries with it all the essence and ramifications of the personality of the individuals that cast them, not the person who was given the mandate. That's my point, and that's my submission.
At Section 68, Sub 1 of the Nigerian Constitution, and we look at the provisions in the Constitution regarding cross-carpeting. It talks about a split.
If I can get you clearly, I'll have a good standpoint on what you're saying.
Oh, okay, I'd like us to move to the Constitution.
Get the phone close to you.
I think it's. I can hear you clearly now. But can you hear me, Barrister?
Yeah, if you get the closer,
all right,
I can hear you
all
very
right.
clearly.
Okay. Let's go to the Nigerian Constitution, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. We look at, for instance, Section 68, Sub 1. We look at other parts of the Constitution that has to do with defection, and also that has to do with what would be the basis for removal of political office holders. Does the Nigerian Constitution allow a member of the legislature to be removed without a legislative process?
There are several processes for removal. There's one of recall. There's the other ones that can be done. Defection is one of it. And that one is clearly spelled out in the Constitution, so it doesn't require any legislative process. Immediately you defect, you are out of office. Any remuneration you collect therefrom is not your own. You must return it to state. And that's the fact. And the fact that you have filed an appeal will not stop the execution or implementation of the judgment over defection. And that's the mistake they made in the Umahi case, the Ebonyi governor's case. Well, I don't know what happened, but it's like everybody was bamboozled, or do I use the word hypnotized, even the INEC, that they didn't know that the implication of that judgment is for the governor to vacate office immediately the pronouncement was made. So that somebody filed an appeal and all that, and keep going rigmarole to remain in office until his appeal is heard does not apply, because the nature of such adjudication and decision demands that person vacate office immediately. So if you're talking about legislative procedure, what other procedure are you talking about? When somebody has abdicated his mandate, somebody has abandoned the mandate given to him by a demography that's alive and active, and still the demography that can still be consulted, a demography that is human. We're not talking about inanimate things here, or things that do not exist, or things that are not within the confines of human endeavor. We are talking about an expression done by a group of people.
So Chief Oguche, Chief Oguche, so should we see? Do we need to get to a point, and how do we get there, where we don't even need to go to court to see a member of the federal legislature or state legislature who's defected without a split in the party relinquish his seat? Because, of course, like you've said and I earlier said also, Section 68, subsection 1G of the Constitution provides that a member of the Senate or House of Representatives shall vacate his seat or her seat in the House if being a person whose election to the House was sponsored by a political party before the expiration of the period for which that House was elected, provided that his membership of the latter party is not as a result of a division in the political party of which he was previously a member or of a merger of two or more political parties or factions by one of which he was previously sponsored. So this is clear. Why are we seeing that people have to go to court to enforce this? Very quickly, please.
That's the thing about our democratic process that I find totally and completely nauseating. To the extent that I understand, once a provision is made, you don't have to go to court to effect it. You follow it, that is what is called due process. But to have this experience in this democracy where anything goes, and things are done haphazardly. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't require anybody to go to court to get anybody who defects, who jumps ships from one political party to the other to get out of office and go and begin to look for better pastures in the political party of which he has gone. But that's the situation, and a whole lot of things are wrong with the way we are doing things. So that's why somebody would know very well that a particular action is wrong, and he'll just go ahead and do it and ask you to go to court.
All right. Interesting. We'll have to leave it at that. Chief Festus Goche, I want to thank you very much for your time. All right. And that's been the size of our show today and, of course, for this week. It's been quite interesting. Thanks for being our guest and joining us throughout the week. We return on Monday with more on Plus Politics. But for now, my name is Kofi Bertels. Have a fantastic weekend.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, PlusTvAfrica, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
My name is Oluwafirokpo Iwinla. With nostalgia, I recall the good old days. The land of my birth is Ibadan, the city of brown rusted roof. This is where I have known as home for the better part of my sojourn on this planet. I grew up in Eleyele, Yagonku, and Akpataganga at various stages of my life. And in fairness to our collective memories, those good old days were not just fun, they were testy times too. But all that was to prepare us for today and the more that is to come tomorrow. I remember the peace and order in the living quarters of men and women of the Nigeria police in Elele and Yagoku. How can I forget those monthly inspections of the living quarters of the barracks, when in preparation, each family not only cleans up their respective personal inner rooms, all join hands to clean the kitchen, the conveniences, and the general arena of the block. That was when the next door neighbor to the right is Igbo, and the one to the left is Igala, and we all lived in blissful tolerance. I remember being called the Kobo boy by certain friends of the family in Iyagonku simply because they claim that my look suggests that I am not Yoruba, but Igbo. This we all laughed away as a joke, but it bears witness to the spirit of camaraderie that we all enjoyed in living together. I remember the classes we took in Islamic religious studies, side by side Christian religious knowledge, right then in ICC, Okebola, in Primary 1. In my first term in school, I, alongside other students in the class, had mastered the art of performing ablution as a prequel to saying the Islamic prayer. I remember how my parents used to invite me to come and recite memorized Islamic prayers learnt in school to visit us in our house. Did I tell you that my father aligns with Christianity, while my mother aligns with Islam? But as a child, even before I could walk, I could not bear to hear singing in a church and not be drawn in. Mother was compelled to start going to church on my account, since she needed to be around to guide me. As a young adolescent, I remember going to live with my maternal grandfather in Akimori. He was a traditionalist, versed in divining with cowries. Henry Dilogun, I became his faithful acolyte, helping him to keep his accounts. Did I tell you that, irrespective of his traditional background, he observes the Ramadan fasting, goes to mosque every Jumat, and never stopped me from going to church or following the masquerade when it is its season? I come from the deep good old days of yore, a past of beautiful people and intentions, a past of peace and tolerance. So where did we get it wrong? The quality of questions we ask today determines the quality of answers we get. Will our children believe us when we say we had so much fun in those days, irrespective of our religious, traditional, and cultural leanings? Our challenge now is to focus on how we can change the narrative. How, instead of talking about the good old days, we're projecting into a future that is greater than our past. Let us make the difference now, for the sake of our children's tomorrow. I, therefore, join Shemori Badejo in this collective drive towards a greater tomorrow.
This medal has been directed to empower 1,000 persons with disabilities in each state in the next 12 months.
We now start hearing the shoot of gun.
Whatever I've done.
Every public policy has winners and losers, and some will not be very happy with you, while others, usually the silent majority, will be quite happy.
News as it affects us all. I am Sayome Sale, and today Manny and I we're going solo. Hi Manny, you look amazing.
Thank you.
I think we got the memo. Everybody has a touch of earth. It's a serious matter.
Happening today, but you look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Orange is your color.
I think so too.
You look so hot.
Oh Lord, oh Lord, tell me more.
Yes.
And I smell good.
I can imagine, Bella.
Oh my goodness. the whole. I wish everybody can be here in the studio today. She came bearing gifts, so we're super excited. So how's your week though? First of all, it's Friday.
I have to think. Today has been bumper to bumper. So if I were to judge the week based on my day, I would say it's been a very tough week. Yes.
Based on just today?
Yes. Yes, today was very, very tough, but we knew.
You are very dogged. You look very fragile, but don't mess with the money.
No.
But how are the kids though?
The kids are
Holiday is over.
Holiday is over for one. For two of my two girls, but for my son, his is just started today.
Really?
Yeah, it's the French school. They have a very different curriculum, so it's the French system. They don't use the British system at all. So my girl's break is just coming to an end today, and he starts today. So for the next 3 weeks,
he's home.
He's home. I don't know what to do with him. So suggestions, anyone?
All right, so today we're discussing something that I've always really wanted to talk about, and it's just so happened. It's the perfect timing, right? Because the guest we're having today, she just launched something. I think it's the first in sub-Saharan Africa. I'm not sure when she comes, she would.
Really?
Yes. We don't have it at all, so we have to, we have to loud it here.
Say
my personal person, no, we have to, because the thing is, this is something I've always said that vocational skills is one thing that can actually transform Nigeria.
Yeah.
I'm currently doing a lot of projects on the site, and I know how it is almost difficult to get, So just imagine a lot of people like you saying that I want to go into a particular vocation. What do you think would happen? You would change the face of that.
Oh yes.
That business. That you would change it. So there's something she has always been passionate about. Scent, smelling good, and I'm more. I actually feel good today because there's something about a good smell.
Good makes you feel good. So it's
so just pardon me if I'm overly excited today, but that's how I feel today. And so today, this is what we found as today's quote. Not only do African students deserve excellent universities, they deserve good elementary and secondary schools and then to have access to ongoing vocational and job training to ensure their skills remain as relevant as possible to African organizations. Now, this, is part of the quote we're talking about, where we talk about, taking away from the universities. Let's start to find real solutions to some of the challenges we have, and I strongly believe that vocational skills would help you. So Okoye in 2010 defines vocational education as a skill-based program designed for skill acquisition at a lower level of education. It is planned to offer people the opportunity of refining themselves in their general proficiency, especially about their current or future occupation. When people hear vocation education, they believe it is for those who cannot afford a quality education. However, this is a wrong assumption. The truth is everyone needs to learn valuable hands-on skill. In the long run, these skills can act as a means in which income is generated. Now, Diola Paul Ian, yes, we've been talking about her since. She's the CEO of Abella, and she's here to discuss improving vocational institutions in Nigeria. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. You're still watching Ways. Now, Earth Day, celebrated annually on April 22nd, is a reminder to protect the environment, restore damaged ecosystems, and live a more sustainable life. First celebrated in 1970, this day marks its 52nd anniversary. It was first observed in the United States when some 20 million people took to the streets to protest against the 1969 Santa Barbara oil spill. Now, since then, the occasion has played an important role in raising awareness on other environmental issues. In 2009, the United Nations designated April 22nd as International Mother Earth Day. Now, according to the UN, International Mother Earth Day is celebrated as a reminder that the Earth and its ecosystems provide us with life and sustenance. The healthier our ecosystems are, the healthier the planet and its people will be. Restoring our damaged ecosystem would help to end poverty, combat climate change, and prevent mass extinction. But we will only succeed if everyone plays a part. According to the UN, they say that. So, also interesting, you know, now looking at this and going back to the conversation I had with our guest in the makeup room, she was telling me rather about, you know, the interesting thing about each location and their soil type. That, for instance, if she puts the coffee bean from Brazil and the coffee bean from Nigeria, you could literally tell the difference. Yeah. Whilst ours is like vanilla creamy, according to her, the Brazilian one is earthy, like strong, you know, and all of that. I say, you see, our things are always different. No, it's not even that. I'm just saying that, you know, one thing I love about Diola, if you were never a nature person,
you would not even notice this.
So, but she's able to distinguish. You know how you can separate things. Some people are just blessed. So it's important. So, you know, when I was just reading this about the earth sustaining and all of that. So there's a uniqueness to every zone. Even in the north, in the north, comparing Nigeria, breaking it down, going up north, core north, you know, central north, you would see that there's a difference. So we must learn to preserve, because that is the uniqueness and the richness of that particular region.
So preserve our soil?
Yes, I'm saying even the environment entirely. Okay. The environment in its entirety, you know, all these things that we're having, what's it called, bombings and all of that, it just completely distorts the ecosystem.
So when we were hit by the COVID-19 2 years ago, you know, I think that period actually helped the earth to heal, you know, from all this rubbish, oil spillage, you know, bombing and
excessive pollution.
So it helped. So
we need more
something
of that.
Good came out of COVID-19.
Yeah, we need more of, you know, planting so many things that just helps to restore the uniqueness of the region.
I agree.
So I have a very sad story. That's all we're going to be taking today. Because you know why I took this particular story? First of all, it broke my heart because the boy is 15. Yeah. According to the report, he's supposed to be writing his WAEC. Or Ziwase, they call it now. Yeah, so I'm really saddened because 16, that's the age of my first, 15 is the age of my first son. Wow. So when I saw the mother on the floor crying and, you know, it just broke everything inside of me, because I can't imagine how much, you know, we have put in, you know, raising emotions, everything, raising a child up to that age, only for the child to die when something is completely avoidable. That's where it's breaking. So this is the story of the woman. She's been, they said she was crying uncontrollably. And very, very, it's apt for her to be like that, you know. So there was a tanker, I think it was 45,000 liters tanker that was taking fuel to a fuel station around this region. And the fuel, of course, it was trying to navigate a bend. Typical thing that happens, because probably maybe the driver was speeding or something,
or drunk
or whatever. Do you understand? So the truck now falls to this, like it spills. And from this report, this mother, they said they started the typical thing again. They started scooping fuel. So how the fire even started, I didn't see that part in the story, but it's the same thing all the time. When there's a spillage like that, why can't we just stay clear from it? So how this boy got mixed up in this whole situation is what I can't get.
Oh, okay, so we don't know if he was part of the scoopers.
I don't know, because it wasn't stated. But you can tell, first of all, so many things playing out. There's poverty, because why would I see Phil spilling on the floor and be thinking of how I can scoop it? That's poverty. Because I want to find a way to be able to gather it and go and probably resell it. Because that's what most of these scoopers, they do. You know, there's poverty playing out. There's a lot of ignorance. You know, there's a lot of ignorance. There's a lot of, and again, when there are spillages like that, what are the people, what kind of orientation do they have in terms of immediate things to do? Because I'm just thinking in my head, if this were abroad and something like that happened, the next thing, they would have poured some kinds of whatever it is on the road to just completely flush it off the road.
How about the fire services? Nobody's even talking about them.
So I don't know. It's really sad. This really broke my heart this evening when I saw this.
Yeah, it's so bad, because especially in a place like Nigeria that is just covered by so many poor people. People wait on their children. Their children are actually their
supposed to
retirement
be
plan. So I can imagine a woman training her child up to WAEC level, and then he just goes away just like this.
Like that.
It doesn't even make any sense.
It's sad.
I think we need to do better in this country.
It's sad.
And you know, for me, I know about these tanker drivers. When you look at most of them, they are drunk, they are high on those little things those women pork, yes, and sell. So when you speak to them, you can smell their breath, the stench. So I can bet anything that this guy was actually drunk, because you are navigating a bend. It's not the first time you're navigating a bend.
In that particular bend,
yes,
in fact.
Exactly. So what happened today? What happened? So it's just really sad.
So what would compensation look like for this woman? The life is gone.
It doesn't even come to play, because how do you compensate this kind of person? She's inconsolable. How do you compensate her? I don't see any way. I just think that, okay, while they were scooping, where were our law enforcement agencies? You understand?
Because I am just thinking that for every time we hear things like this, why don't we heads starts to roll in this kind of situation?
And, you know, try to look for solutions.
The company that owns that truck, you know, because you must train your drivers, you must hold them accountable.
You're right.
The truck, yes, you start to sanction them. Liability. When you slam them a very heavy fine, I'm not talking about chicken fee.
Yeah.
Maybe that kind of hundreds of million kind of fine.
Yes.
They would know that before you put any driver on the road, the driver's head must be correct. Because this is just sad. This death is needless, you know.
This is very,
we have to take a break now. It's really sad. All right, on that note, we'll just take a break. I just pray that the mother, you know, she finds some form of comfort. It's really sad. And I hope the authorities would actually do something to the owners of those trucks, sanction them, right? Let's start to give them heavy slams. When we slam them heavy bills, I'm sure these things would really, really drastically reduce, because you would vet the drivers before you put them on the road.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back from the break, we'll be discussing vocational studies or vocational education. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Abella said it's causing a lot of confusion in the studio today. Now, according to a publication by the Department of Vocational Education in Nnamdi Azikiwe University, technical and vocational education is used as a comprehensive term in the educational process, involving, in addition to general education, the study of technologies and related sciences and acquisition of practical skills, attitudes, understanding, and knowledge relating to occupations in various sectors of the economic and social life. Now, a publication by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization noted that the technical and vocational education helps increase citizens' potential to innovate and transform the economy and society through dynamic skill provisions. However, in Nigeria, technical and vocational jobs are largely unskilled, and practitioners learn the job through apprenticeship without any form of certification. Now, consequently, most practitioners are uneducated or semi-educated, and the fields where they operate are not captured within the formal sector. Thus, the contribution of vocational and technical skills to the economy is at best minimal. It goes without saying that improved vocational learning would have a positive impact on Nigeria, and we are asking, how can we improve this? How can we improve our vocational institutions in Nigeria? Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. Mani, I want to hear your thoughts quickly on the conversation before I bring in Diola.
Okay, so we know that vocational training is like the instructional programming, you know, that helps a person to prepare for a particular job that requires a particular or specialized skill.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so for me, I know that we have a lot of things like people that want to train how to be technicians, even artisans, because in this part of the world, we have artisans who are not trained and thus they give us a lot of problems. I want to say headaches, give us a lot of problems. So if we have more of these vocational training centers, then we'll have less issues with assistants like tailors. You know, when we have tailors give us issues, most of the time it's because they're not well trained. We have plumbers, we have the people that attend to electricians, you know, woodwork people, even makeup artists, you know. So I think if we, like you said when we started, if we have more of these vocational centers, it can help to boost Nigeria's economy.
Absolutely.
You know, so, you know, even people in school that actually went to school to study computer science, they were studying based on the theory part.
Yeah.
And they were not doing the one-on-one hands-in. So I think when you come out of school, the university, you get your degree, you come out, you still have to go and
You know,
learn.
when you talked about that, I remember I had an encounter with someone that just graduated as an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
And
he knows nothing about
He has not done anything.
Yeah.
But when you spoke on makeup artists, interestingly, that particular industry has done very well.
Yes, because
makeup artists, skincare therapists, all those kinds of vocation that has to do with the beauty world, they're doing exceptionally well. Because again, I believe strongly that the brand, right? A lot of brands paid a lot of attention to building that industry. So it became so attractive that many people wanted to become, because they could see themselves literally coming out of those things and immediately earning an income.
Yes, I think so. So
You
the
get
different brands and then their choice of brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
So they actually did.
And that's why for
they were
me
supposed
it
to
was
do.
important to bring in this guest, because I know that she pays loads of attention to detail, and is someone that I saw, you know, when the thing was growing right in front of me, and this is where she is today. All right, so Diola Paul Iyang, aka Abella. She's a Nigerian perfumer, tutor, mentor, and artistic sense curator. In case I mispronounce anything, she will correct me later. Abella interprets her world through sense, telling stories of her African perspective and human emotions through olfactory art. She is the visionary behind the Abella Center for Olfactory Art in Lagos, the first of its kind olfactory art center in Nigeria, and arguably, I got it right, sub-Saharan Africa.
Wow.
Abella went against traditional norms to follow her heart and nose, yes, because we need the nose for the sense, for more creative pursuits to envision the Abella sense. She's also the creative inspiration behind the Abella by Sense of Africa brand and teaches her passion for art through the Abella Fragrance Academy. And it was not an easy something, but we brought her to the studio. She's like, thank you so much. And she came bearing gifts. See the way I'm just scenting nice, but thank you so much, Diola. First of all, thank you for following your dream, seeing it through. And, you know, I know this is just the beginning. It was important for me because to bring you on board, because I realized that we keep on complaining about a lot of things. But you are one person that I have seen that even when people would, there are loads of naysayers, would this ever work? Would this do this? Would this do that? You are always, you know, you've always stood your ground to say this would work and I can prove it that it can work. For that doggedness and for the staying power, I say thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So tell us, because the last time we had you, we were just talking about challenges of small businesses. That time, this academy that we've been flashing for you has been in the pipeline, and today is a success. It's officially launched, and we're so happy to be the first hosting you after the launch. Yes, others will call you now, we know, but at least it was here first on Ways. Tell us, how has this journey been, you know, launching this, and how do you truly feel on your inside whenever you walk into this academy, knowing that lives will be transformed in this place?
Well, that's a question. Well, the journey has been quite rewarding, but if I say that it's been easy, I would be telling a big lie. Yeah. So it's had its challenges, and we've surmounted it, being dogged, like you said, especially in Nigeria. But I recognize no barriers. And I think that's the attitude that we all must carry. Yeah. When you don't see stumbling blocks, if there's a block before you, you must find a way to get out of the way. It's just that simple. And that's the simple part. But one of the things that I think that I would love to share is the power of passion. And nothing beats it. Passion, when you see a vision that is on fire, that is packed and powered by passion, it can go to lengths. There's nothing that is going to stop it. And I think that is really what we all need to embrace as we try to get on to any point of passion that we have. I think that's just as simple as it gets.
Awesome. Awesome. You know, so if we're talking about vocational school, because this is your school, you know, resemble where they go, they learn how to grind pepper. Yeah. You know, so because again, so this is why I brought you on the show. A lot of times when we say empowerment, when I see government doing empowerment, what I see is grinding machines. Right. I see keke napep. Right. I see sewing machines. Right. And I see all those kinds of things. And I've always said that we have to do it differently. We have to do it better. We can always get it better if we want to. This is supposed to be a vocational school. Why was it so important, you know, the look? Because this would easily pass, like if I close my eyes and you threw me in there, it was like I was somewhere abroad. It was not like, you know, because your typical idea of a vocational school in Nigeria, that it has to look in a certain way. And, you know, a lot of things are done haphazardly, shabbily, and with so much mediocre attached to it. And that's why you do not see a lot of people trying to say, you know what, let me keep this 9 to 5 and go and learn a skill. Because it is not attractive, right? So why did you think about doing this to this kind of standards? Because I know it's not small money that's entered that place.
It's interesting that you say that, because I'll take it from two perspectives. One, when you say that a lot of the vocational initiatives that have been thrown in have been, let me use the word substandard. And I say that with every caution. Or it feels like it doesn't carry some high-end standard, as it were. But I think it has to do with the reflection of the people that we're also trying to reach out to. And ironically, those are the kind of vocations that we have found very prominent within our own country. And there's a gap. And that gap is for the people who I will call the professional gap people. They're people in professions, they have careers. Many people went to school. Many of people are studying courses that they never intended to study when they were in school. They had different passions, but because they've been driven to have or run courses that they feel I will make money when I'm done. They never really run after their passion. So there are those people who have those, they're in that gap season. You have people who are taking on jobs that they have no desire to keep on having those jobs. So I've met different people on this journey, and we found even bankers who say, I would rather be a creative than be a banker, right? And you wonder, so why are they, in banking? I've had someone who was studying to be an engineer and pulled out of school and said, no, I'm not interested in it. I want to be an artist, and went into the artistry. And so the problem has been from the beginning. And there's a gap with these guys, and nobody's filling that gap. There are many people that are in jobs that they hate. You don't have to wake up in the morning and keep on going to a job that you do not like. It's important to follow after what your passion is. And that's why I started off with the concept of passion. And I remember I mentioned to you before the show the importance of having the right people in your circle. The people who will keep on pushing you or supporting you and being a backbone for you when you're following through with your passion. Those are very important things. Yeah. So why did I do this? I, for one, had been into a career. I've been, for the most part, a brand strategy development person. I've been in the advertising, brand communications for the most part of 15 years. And that's a long time, yeah? And when it comes to strategy, it almost comes so easy for me. But at a point, I then said, there's just more to me than this. And I've pretty much been creative from as wee high. And I still wonder why it isn't that I didn't go after the creative path. But I also feel that it had a lot to do with the culture. What should we be chasing after? What were the most important things? Profession-wise, yes. We want to be doctors, we want to be lawyers, we want to be accountants, because we've been ingrained in our mindset to think that these professions or these careers are the ultimate, they're the all and be all. But there's more. And I'm glad, because the music industry is making us see differently, that even music has its benefits. Football has its benefits. Just follow after the passion. So here I was shifting into a more creative path. And then I had issues in terms of, okay, now I need to do this. I don't know where to go to. So if I had to learn, I'd probably have to travel out of the country. There were no formal qualitative institutions to learn what I wanted to learn. So the first hurdle that I needed to cross was having to learn. Now, was I ready to travel at that point in time? No, I wasn't. So I had to learn myself. It took me years of failing, starting.
And using us as guinea pigs.
And using you guys as the guinea pigs. But importantly is that I'm one that I would say is blessed, because I come from a research background. So being curious about things comes second nature. But not everybody's like this, right? So it became a problem for people coming afterwards to learn. And I just thought to myself, I'm not sure that people need to go through this kind of burden just because they want to learn how to make a candle for it. But it's not just, you see, most people think that it's just making a candle and just pouring the wax. It's a lot. When you come into one of the classes that we have, you know it's actually serious business, because there's a lot of maths that goes into it. So these are the fundamental foundations that proper education will give. And then we can then transition people into the vocational education. So it has to be deliberate. I've always said something about us making sure things are deliberate. So our actions need to be very deliberate.
Okay. We are coming back. Just stay with us. Right back. Okay. Now, if you just tuned in, we are having an amazing chat with Diola Paul Iyang on improving vocational education in Nigeria. Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-8038-4663. You can also tweet at us on WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. I'm going to be happy all through this weekend. Manny, over to you.
Okay, so thank you so much for coming. Thank you for the beautiful scent that we have on right now. So if I want to ask a question, let's say I'm asking for my viewers now. I'm a lawyer and I want to do something very quickly. I want to learn something else, you know, be specialized in another skill. What's the average commitment time? What do I have to give in? You know, some people tell you that, oh, going back to school, it will take too long. So if they want to learn a particular skill, what's the average commitment time?
So I would not answer that question as a given time because it's really up to the individual.
Yeah.
But anything that is worth doing is worth investing.
I was going to say Della was the wrong person to ask that question.
Yeah, no, you know why? Because
Absolutely.
now we are in this era where they're talking about multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
So somebody already has a job and they're not looking to live in their jobs. They're just looking to be specialized in something
and
else.
adding something else.
Adding, you know.
So let me explain that craft is not something that you can say, I want to put 1 hour, and that craft is something that you need to invest your time in. Now, investing your time in doesn't mean that you need to take time off work.
Okay.
When you are passionate about something, it just oozes out of you.
Okay.
You don't, it's not something that you have to say, I want to put 2 hours and then I'm putting here. You realize that there are things that you enjoy doing. Cooking, for instance. You know you cook whether or not you have a job to do or you don't have a job to do. Whether you're going to work in the morning or you're not going to work in the morning, you're cooking.
It depends.
That's if you absolutely hate cooking.
Yeah.
But if you do love cooking, people don't necessarily have to quit their jobs because they learn cooking. They just find clever ways of being creative with cooking. And there's some people's homes that we enjoy going to a lot because of their food.
True.
Is that their full-time work?
No.
But it has become a craft. It's become something that they've enjoyed. I still come back to the same point. Passion. When you love doing something, just keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. You will realize how much time you've invested in it without even realizing that you've invested time. So let me come back to the official question that you're asking, which is how much time should I put aside if I want to get into a vocational? Now, the first step is always taking the time to take courses. So we offer short courses. Yeah. So we've had a candle making masterclass that has been ongoing since 2016. Right up until now, we've churned out over 150 students that have passed through the class. And it's interesting that during the season that they're in class, maybe 3 days, they're involved in it. Like, they are so involved in the process. The last class that we had students even say they didn't know when the time passed from 9 to 5. They didn't know. And that's what happens when you're enjoying something. So I don't want people to think that there's a certain amount of time that you want to put in it. Just enjoy whatever it is that you want to do and just keep on doing it every time you have.
So Diola, you know, what you have churned out is for the people that are like me. I want to be smelling heavenly every day. You want to have a home that smells really good. You know, your room fragrances, your scented candles and everything. But there are other kinds of vocation, right?
Absolutely.
Or vocational institution. Where do you think, because I'm telling you, I can bet you for free, anybody that is interested in what you do, which is scents and the craft and all of that, would definitely pick you as number one. They will not even go somewhere else, right? But how can we get more? Where do you think the government is failing, or how can we start to get more people In fact, let's forget government. Here you are an individual. So somebody that is very, very interested in carpentry, for instance, and probably is now thinking of starting an academy, like how would they get it right? You know, so that we're not bringing out substandard kind of thing. We're not part of those people pushing for mediocrity anymore.
So I think first and foremost, we need to disabuse our minds of one thing that I've found very prominent. When I started teaching, I had people ask me, why are you teaching your craft? It's your trade secret. Why are you teaching this? When we begin to see the bigger picture. Because I realized it was an industry, at the time when I started, it was an industry that was quite novel. Before you found a lot of people now coming up with different brands coming up, there were very few people that did that. But in order for a system to grow, in order for the value chain to benefit me, I needed more people in the industry. For industries that are bigger to invest money into probably creating maybe waxes, for instance, in Nigeria, we needed more people in there. In order for us to get our jars in the manner that we need it, we need more people for the jar companies to consider this is a good industry, this is a good market for me to look into. So am I going to sit in and keep on capping into the place?
And not grow?
And not grow. It's not working. So that's one. So we need to disabuse our minds of teaching and being able to pass ourselves on to others. I personally feel that I've grown more the moment I decided to just let it go and then teach and pour myself out. And we're not going to be here for long, you know what I mean? Life is so limited. We're only here for a period of time.
For a while, yeah.
What happens generational wise? A lot of the schools that you attended, a lot of the missionary schools is because somebody decided to give of themselves. And we need to start thinking like that. We need to start looking at the need points in our environment, in our circle of influence, and start taking actions. So anybody who is thinking this, think more about what can I give back? How can I pay it forward? I'm a beneficiary of very many different programs, and many of them were free. And so just imagine the impact of free on me, and then how it's going to translate to other people. And we have a better nation that way, if you ask me.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're going to say.
Okay. Some countries, like India, they actually have these vocational studies, enshrined in their normal curriculum. So what do you think about us in Nigeria also putting one or two of these vocational studies in our curriculum in every secondary school?
So whilst I see the word vocational studies, I think another thing that we need to kind of disabuse our minds about is nomenclature, what we call some things. You see, when we say vocational studies, it almost feels like it's a separate thing from the actual education. The moment we begin to see education as an ingrained system, when we're in primary school, you're teaching the children how to do home
economics,
fixing things in the home, breaking. I remember when I was younger, I think this is a benefit for me. So my parents took me to the village every end of year holiday, and my grandfather was a carpenter, and he had a work shed. I just love the idea that I saw the carpenters always knocking and and all of that nails. My first project, I think I did at the age of maybe like 13 or thereabout, and I made a small stool from the guys who were working in the work shed. So you see how, if that is ingrained into the system, we are already getting our minds into vocation. If we don't do that, I tell you that we're going to lack that kind of structure in the coming years, because we are all thinking it's all about the formal work, but you will not find the plumbers anymore. In fact, we have, myself and my husband also run a fabrication outfit, and that fabrication outfit also has artisans in quote that come to work, and many of them are older people. We ask them, Where are the younger people coming in? He said nobody wants to learn how.
Are you telling me about that?
Even their children.
Anymore. They don't
even
want
their
to.
children.
Yeah, because again, now it brings me back to why we're even having this conversation. Because nobody sees it as attractive anymore. Until we start to get a lot of people like us going to set up some of these organizations where they see. I mean, my sister sent me a picture today, a page today where she does wall designs with woodwork. This is a young girl. She's in Atlanta. She does wall designs. I'll show you the designs. Beautiful designs. So if we start, if we start to see people that are supposedly
look like
you understand, that look like you, do it. Younger people would want to work.
Representation.
You understand? The same thing that happened with farming. A lot of younger people started going into farming. It became a bit look. So you now have more people coming into it. So where do you think the government can help in all of this? Because again, you cannot take out the factor where the government will play in making this thing even bigger. Because there's no harm in having an Abela sense, for instance, all over Nigeria, where you can go somewhere and it's the same standard that you see across board. It's a lot of money. But you see, if I know what the government is trying to do, most times they try to look for poster children. It's fine, but make the right people that are the poster people. You look for the right people that will do the job. So because we can actually replicate these things with a lot of support. It might just be, you know what, we'll give you the land, come and do a, what's it called, set up and everything. We'll give you, make sure shipping is free for the things you're doing. Just something to get vocational schools a lot more better and more attractive for people to come in. What do you think can happen?
Can you allow me a little sarcasm? All that we want the government to do, we're not asking. Don't give the government too much work. Let the infrastructure systems work. Simple. Just see, when the systems are working, when power is not a problem, and I don't have to think about those what we call non-issues. Non-issues have become big issues. When I don't have to think about those non-issues, I'm free to become the best of myself to push and let the people in the private sector do the thinking. I don't know whether you get my point. Because we've done the thinking without so much help. But then, whilst I say that there's not so much help, we've also had help. Because I look at institutions like the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, which I am a beneficiary, and I'm proud to say it, because I look at the fact that they looked out. It might have been so small, right? But they put something in, and we laid a foundation on it. What I'm going to ask, whilst there's the government role, the individuals also play a major role. When you are given even a tiny bit of an opportunity, what do you do with it? So whilst we want to blame government and all of that, we all have a role to play in this. Now, I want to take you on the attraction part of things. It's interesting. This discussion is going to be a bit awry in that there was a time I remember I was having a conversation with some people, and they were saying unskilled workers. And I was like, who are the unskilled workers? The artisans were the unskilled workers. I said, they are more skilled than you.
Absolutely.
Because you can't do the things that they do. So first and foremost, we also, again, a lot of disabusing is required. Why do we keep on degrading, downgrading a work? I'm an artisan and I'm proud. The only difference probably is because I have a foundation, an educational foundation. So why don't we give...
That is a very big difference, my dear.
The education foundation.
So you can't say that the only difference. That's a massive difference.
But the thing is this, that is what we need, the foundation. If primary is the foundation,
let it be excellent.
That is
money.
it.
I don't have to go to the university if I know that I am going to end up being a candle maker. I don't have to go to the university, but you know what? Let the secondary school or the primary school education, wherever I stop, let it be top notch.
That's exactly why I asked her about how the schools were going to include these vocational studies. I know what you people said about home economics. We just learned how to thread the needle. We didn't even learn how to.
No, they taught me different stitches.
They didn't teach me all those things. They just know how to thread the needle, how to use a timbo and all those things. We didn't do the real sewing, and it was one of those courses.
But I did.
I did.
The school that I attended, I did. I had home economics. I also had typing. In fact, I think this was the federal government colleges of those days.
So things have
so
actually
the problem
changed.
is we need to go back into the curriculum and check and not take things that are borrowed, right? But we need to look at things that are working for us. I often will say, and I think this is not the first time I've mentioned it, it all starts from our educational curriculum and our system.
I think so. I agree with you. I agree.
Are we teaching entrepreneurship from primary school?
Yes. I agree.
Back in the day when we were in Brownies, is it the Girls Guide and the Brownies?
Yeah.
Now it's even sounding strange. It's almost sounding like
they don't know anything about it.
You know, when I'm even saying Brownies now, it's sounding like it was one American school that you've but it was a Nigerian school. And I remember that we will probably sell things like maybe cupcakes or some little things.
To raise funds.
Just to raise funds. Yes, to raise funds. We understood the power of how to trade in order to raise funds for stuff. That's where we need to go back.
Education, the degradation that we are seeing in education is what is a direct translation to what we're seeing today in our world.
So we need to go back.
Let's take some comments. Let me take the discussion of vocational improving vocational institutions in Nigeria is vital because it will go a long way of correcting so many quacks of half-trained people all over posing as professionals while they are not. With improving vocational institution in Nigeria, it will help improve our country like other good countries of the world. In the United States, for instance, you cannot be seen as a barber, a plumber, a mechanic, or a carpenter without you being licensed. You see the thing?
Yeah.
So for that area, you will be given license to show you are qualified to do what you are doing, and the license will be renewed periodically. Did you get? So that's standardization, because it's the same issues that polytechnics are having. Meanwhile, polytechnics are supposed to be the problem solvers. The graduates of polytechnic, technical schools are supposed to be the ones building the roads, doing all of those things. University is just head knowledge. So imagine if we start to put the value where it belongs. That we're saying there is a vocational school where you go and learn electrical wiring of a house. You come out, you're certified. If anything happens, Jola, they can take back your license. Right? The government can revoke your license if something goes wrong with your profession. So you will take it seriously. You will not be that electrician or the plumber that will do a shabby work.
That's right. They talked about the periodic renewal.
I like
that
so if we can get that, and again, of course, there's no harm in making the environment as decent as what we have been showing you since. But let's take your comments.
By the way, you're fired today. You're an advocate for this vocational thing. I'm going to give them your name. Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters. And what are you saying? #ways concerning the idea of improving vocational institutions in Nigeria. We really need to focus more on it. Some people end up not facing and pursuing their dreams because they are forced to do things that is against their wishes and desires. So according to our guest, my dear beautiful sister Deola, people should be allowed to pursue their own dreams. If not, you cannot see the best in them. There should not be pressure on them against their wish and dreams. I have an observation. If the comments or fans are important, then it should be put into consideration. Without the comments on the show is not complete. Yesterday, the show ended without comments being taken.
Oh, sorry.
Let your guests come to the show on time so that they don't eat into the time that you used to take comments.
But we want to also beg you,
Daniel,
I know we couldn't take. Guess what? We couldn't take any comment yesterday because we were like at the nick of time.
I'm sorry. We
want to also beg you, Daniel. Your comments are pretty long, so you will need to try to shrink your comments so that it's easier to just mouth it. But if you had the final word on vocational institutions in Nigeria, what would you say? You've just started one, so we're hoping more will come.
We should have more. People should just give of themselves to give back.
Absolutely.
Right. And yes, the government, this is where the government should have platforms or plans that actually encourage more people to set up more centers like this.
Okay, sorry, let me quickly add to what you just said. While what you said makes sense, the government, if they come out and just take care of infrastructure, then it's the road is set to go. I also think that banks, because most people actually want to make investment, they don't know where to invest, so they just keep their monies in the bank, government bonds and everything. If the banks can also organize seminars, conferences that will teach people about owning vocational centers,
So instead of keeping your money idle in the bank and just waiting for small commissions, you can actually tell them to invest in vocational centers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that makes...
We will look at that in total. But thank you, Abella. It was really tough getting you here, but finally you're here. But thank you so much. It's always a delight talking to you. We know that I'm going to visit the center very soon.
I will.
Hell, my pockets, my ATM. Before we go, thank you, Manny. We had a fantastic conversation.
Yeah,
follow us on Instagram. It's at PlusTvAfrica. You can like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. If you have a passion, I'll just quickly add, if you have a passion, today is the right time to start, right? I mean, I know Jola's story, and that's why I'm super happy to be saying it. All right, like, share, invite your families and friends to watch the show. If you missed today's quote, here it is again. Not only do African students deserve excellent universities, they deserve good elementary and secondary schools too. And then to have access to ongoing vocational and job training to ensure their skills remain as relevant as possible to African organizations. We'll see you guys live on Monday as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
And now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akuga as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akuga. Today we have a package that is entirely on crude oil theft and illegal refining of petroleum products in the Niger Delta. It will interest you to know that the Nigerian economy is currently bleeding as a result of colossal oil theft in the Niger Delta, where communities are equally groaning under the devastating impacts of artisanal refining of crude oil. We will, in the course of the program, bring you an update on a recent tragic fire explosion that was reportedly ignited by illegally refined petroleum products at the Nembe Bonny Jetty in Port Harcourt. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back after this timeout. Don't go away.
Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, making a difference. Delta State is blessed, not with crude oil alone, but with several other natural resources. Gas, kaolin, marble, clay, gravel, silica sand, lignite, and many more. With Delta's abundant human and natural resources, we can transform the state from its third world reality to a first world state. David Idewe, modernizing Delta together. Azikel Group, oil and gas, dredging, power, and air transportation. Azikel Group, petroleum product sufficiency, energy sustainability, and infrastructure development.
Welcome back. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. In over a decade, the Nigerian economy has been reeling under massive oil theft, prompting the federal government to deploy security agencies to safeguard critical national assets in the oil fields of the Niger Delta. In the following documentary, we examine the federal government's renewed onslaught against oil thieves, whose activities in the last 16 months have brought the petroleum industry on the brink of collapse.
Last month, President Muhammadu Buhari declared war on oil thieves operating in the Niger Delta and directed Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timi Pre-Silva, Group Managing Director of NNPC, Malam Melekiare, and Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabo to flush them out of the region. In carrying out the presidential directive, a combined team of security agencies as well as operators and regulatory bodies in the petroleum industry, led by Chief Timi Pre-Silva, visited the Niger Delta recently to undertake an on-the-spot assessment of crude oil theft and illegal refining of petroleum products. During the visit, it was discovered that there were several insertions on pipelines directly connected to oil terminals through which crude oil is siphoned and stored at various locations. Crude oil, otherwise known as the black gold, is subsequently sold on the black market. Speaking during the recent visit, Chief Timi Pre-Silva noted that a new strategy involving oil companies, security agencies and host communities had been devised to halt the menace of oil theft.
We are actually determined to stop it because we know that we can ill afford a continuation of this insecurity in the oil industry.
For several decades, oil and gas production has been the fortress of the Nigerian economy, which successive governments have been unable to diversify. It appears the chickens have come home to roost as international oil companies operating in the Niger Delta are relocating on account of massive oil theft. Going by statistics released recently by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, the country lost a whopping $4 billion to oil theft between January and December 2021. The NNPC further reveals that additional $1.5 billion has been lost to oil theft in the first quarter of 2022. The country's main regulator of the petroleum industry identifies the Trans-Niger Pipeline and the Nembe Creek trunk line as the most threatened oil assets that are no longer operational as a result of colossal oil theft. At a rough estimate, about 95% of national oil revenues is said to be currently appropriated by oil thieves in Nigeria. Group Managing Director of NNPC, Malam Melekiare, while addressing members of the House of Representatives recently, observed that daily oil production at the Bonny terminal had nosedived from 239,000 barrels to zero as a result of non-stop oil theft in the last 1 year.
The Bonny terminal, when you inject 239,000 barrels per day, it got to a point where we could only receive about 3,000 barrels per day. And it got to zero and we shut down. So there is simply no business reason for anyone to continue producing oil.
In recent years, the federal government has recycled military operations mandated to stop oil theft in the Niger Delta, the latest being Operation Delta Safe. Sadly, massive oil theft, which has paralyzed the Nigerian economy, occurs right under the nose of security agencies deployed to protect Nigeria's oil and gas assets in the Niger Delta, prompting accusations of military involvement in crude oil theft. In May 2019, Governor Nyesom Wike accused the then General Officer commanding 6th Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Jamil Sahem, of running an illegal oil bunkering squad with the intention to raise funds to enhance his chances of being appointed Chief of Army Staff.
The GOC has his own team now doing oil bunkering for him. The security are also part of the oil bunkering. Nobody can hide it. When you see his own task force are doing oil bunkering for him, what will he do? Will he arrest them? Will he arrest them? So he has his own team that making money for him. May God save Nigeria.
Confirming Governor Wike's allegation that security agencies were actively involved in oil theft and illegal refining, one of our sources, simply known as Madam Black,
a major illegal oil refiner employing dozens of youths in the Niger Delta, told Inside the Niger Delta in an earlier interview that military authorities were involved in the illegal oil business and accused them of high-handedness in sharing the proceeds of illegal oil refining in her camp.
The settlements for Yenadai. The settlement, they settle all the security. No security where you say they not the settle. If they say make they blade this, make they open people in even security stuff that they do the business.
That they do with you now?
That they do with us.
That is police,
before
army,
the army, everybody.
All
no,
of them they inside.
No one when not they do this business. That's why you don't shop for inside the day. So even get boat where they take the supply black. Some get camp. Some get camp. And they get one character where we say they get. Let's say you settle the security. The day when you know if you settle the other one, go mobilize, go and go destroy everywhere. Like we are the work, so they destroy and they don't destroy and finish. Because of say the organ say that they settle boys, they're not the settlers.
Like most Niger Deltans, Chairman of Committee on Host Communities in the House of Representatives, Honorable Dunamene Deko, strongly believes that the rising magnitude of oil theft is occasioned by the complicity of security agencies.
There's a cartel, and those who are high up there are involved. The security services are also involved, because you can't move a vessel into our waters without some of these vessels being noticed. Most of the young men who see that are doing it for some of these big people.
In his reaction, Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabo, who admits that there are security lapses in safeguarding Nigeria's oil assets in the Niger Delta, says hard times awaits unscrupulous security personnel in the renewed campaign against oil theft.
Our approach is going to be very comprehensive, and that's why we're here. And of course, I've also told members of the armed forces I'm going to be ruthless with anyone that is found to have engaged in the malfeasance. But I can assure you that at the end of it all, there will be greater improvement in the entire space.
Over the years, the campaign against oil theft in the Niger Delta has become a spider web in which only the small butterflies get caught. NNPC boss Malam Melekiare insists that the real thieves are privileged Nigerians and their accomplices outside the country. He advocates the establishment of special courts to begin to effectively tackle the menace of oil theft, which has left the Nigerian economy in dire straits.
To sell crude oil in the international market, it is not the business of the ordinary people that you see in this illegal refining sector. It's an elitist business. And that we must have the courage to set up very independent special courts to try cases related to this. Otherwise, the impact today it has on our overall economic outlook, our ability to do foreign exchange, and also even in terms of energy security for this country is threatened by very few people.
Sustained crude oil theft over the years has taken a huge toll on the Nigerian economy on several fronts. Right now, not only is the country unable to meet daily production quota of 1.8 million barrels allocated to it by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, as estimated 95% of oil revenues is appropriated by oil thieves at the expense of the generality of Nigerians. No less disturbing has been the frightening state of insecurity imposed by activities of illegal oil bunkers, particularly in Rivers State. In the month of November 2021, no fewer than 9 fire incidents resulting from explosions at various locations in Port Harcourt where illegally refined petroleum products were stored. In the early hours of Wednesday, 16 February 2022, a truck fully loaded with illegally refined premium motor spirit had gone up in flames at Iba community in Emoha local government area of Rivers State, destroying several houses and shops. Shortly afterwards, in the month of March 2022, 2 separate fire incidents linked to storage of illegally refined petroleum products occurred at the exhibit yard of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in Iriebe Town and Abonima Wharf in the Port Harcourt metropolis. According to Chairman of Port Harcourt City Local Government Area, Allwell Ihunda, the fire outbreak at Abonima Wharf emanated from shanties housing illegally refined petroleum products.
The fire came as a result of storage of these profile products
within the illegal structures situated on the road to the tank farms around this area.
In the last 1 year, the many fire disasters occasioned by activities of illegal oil bunkering in Port Harcourt and its environs have claimed several lives and destroyed properties worth billions of naira. In River State and other parts of the Niger Delta, illegal oil refining is a time bomb capable of unleashing mass destruction on lives in no distant time. In several communities, toxic waste products from artisanal crude oil refineries are constantly discharged into farmlands and natural water bodies on which the people depend for their livelihoods. In the same vein, artisanal crude oil refiners constantly release poisonous gas into the atmosphere, which for many years has had a soot blanket. The soot prevalence in Port Harcourt releases pollutant particles surpassing a diameter of 2.5 micrometers, which is roughly 3 times above the World Health Organization's annual air quality value. Deborah Effiong of the Civil Society Coalition on Human Rights and Civic Spaces in River State says residents in the Niger Delta are endangered daily by the illegal activity.
We had an opportunity to do an overfly, over Port Harcourt. You could see the refineries have tripled. Looking around the creeks, the entire creeks that make up River State, there are splinter spots of, burning of crude everywhere. The appearance of the soot has to do with, the artisanal refinery going on in the States. All over, everywhere is gone, completely gone.
Port Harcourt-based medical practitioner Dr. Fidelis Chukuma attributes rising cases of respiratory illness to the soot prevalence in the River State capital.
If you go to the respiratory unit, you find more of respiratory diseases presented. And of course, before now, we used to have more of diarrhea and vomiting in children, but now we have more of constant cough, constant catarrh, and sneezing among children. Sometimes we have people just wake up and they tell you they are very weak and they have headache. Your mind wants to start going for malaria. And you keep treating for malaria, yet it's not malaria, only for it to discover some of the effects of the black soot.
In the midst of the excruciating pain communities have gone through as a result of illegal oil refineries, state governments in the Niger Delta have done little to save lives and property, with the exception of Governor Nyesom Wike, who in January this year declared a manhunt for artisanal crude oil refiners operating in River State. Vice President of Renewable Energy Efficiency Association of Nigeria, Professor Magnus Onoha, warned state governments in the region to act fast and save lives.
The movement of the governor of River State, moving from communities to to look at those illegal refineries, it was commendable. It's a collective effort of all the 9 governors to come together to share enough of this. It's not about politics, not about whether you are PDP or APC or Labour Party. No, it's about the people of Niger Delta.
No doubt the activities of artisanal crude oil refiners have visited untold pain and anguish on several communities where they operate, but their operation isn't just about destruction. As a matter of fact, artisanal oil crude refiners have over the years made significant contributions to boost domestic production of crude oil, for which the federal government has no capacity and is currently implementing a policy of fuel importation. However, frontline Niger Delta activist Charles Taylor says there's nothing like fuel importation, as Nigerians depend to a large extent on petroleum products refined by artisans in the Niger Delta.
It is this crude oil that is being supplied all over the filling stations. Federal government is only telling us they are bringing fuel from here, they are bringing fuel from here, they are bringing fuel from here. All the fuel they are bringing is from the creek. They are the same thing that they are putting in the tank, bringing in the filling station, selling us. We have not seen any imported fuel in the Niger Delta. So long as the federal government does not have the political will to open the Mabo refinery, this fuel business will not going to stop.
In acknowledgement of the ingenuity of artisanal refiners, the federal government, for the opt-in time in January this year, promised to integrate them into the value chain of crude oil and gas production with the establishment of 18 modular refineries that would provide them an alternative source of livelihood. At the time, Minister of State for Environment Sharon Ikeazu had in a press statement observed that the federal government would train artisanal crude oil refiners
on environmental management, including skills required for spill management and remediation. However, nothing has been heard from the government, a development that gives many Niger Deltans cause for worry.
How do we get them out of this illegality? Since they have acquired some skills, is there a way we can organize them into this structure, a proper structure, such that they stop destroying the environment?
Maybe, the modular refinery thing has been politicized, although we know. But if you can create it in such a way that you cluster them, create small refineries, modular refineries, or go and look and see how you can build upon what they're doing, I think by so doing, all this oil theft and whatever they call it will stop.
Oil-producing communities are undoubtedly the worst casualties of oil theft and artisanal refining in the Niger Delta, where quality of life is on a steady decline. In the renewed campaign against oil theft, they are expected therefore to support the federal government to succeed. However, most Niger Deltans insist that non-state actors could not have appropriated so much of Nigeria's main natural resource to themselves without the support of state actors. In the renewed fight against oil thieves, all agencies of the federal government should leave above board to salvage an already battered economy and protect lives in the Niger Delta. Inside the Niger Delta, the Ijors, Isokos, Ishakiris and the Urobos together form the 3 I's and U that make up Delta South Senatorial District. Let's join hands in unity to develop Delta South and make it great. Sir Ayodele Ogogo Utihiwa says, think Delta South, think development. Everything home, all in one place. Visit Home Options today at 22 Aba Port Harcourt Express Road, Port Harcourt, River State, or call 080-998-08678 or 080-331-34055 or visit our website www.homeoptionsng.com.
Victims of the recent fire incident at the Bile Bonny Nembe jetty in Port Harcourt, which reportedly claims scores of lives, are still counting their losses. Correspondent Biola Festos reports that some survivors of the tragic incident who are now stranded are also calling for financial assistance from government to start life afresh.
At about 2 a.m. on Monday, the 11th of April 2022, there was an explosion at the Nembe Bonny jetty in the Port Harcourt metropolis. Fire was reportedly ignited when some persons tried to evacuate illegally refined petroleum products from a locally manufactured cargo boat on its arrival from Brass in Bayelsa State. The fire quickly spread to several speedboats anchored at the jetty. The inferno raged on for hours and roasted many to death, while others drowned in the river in a helpless attempt to save their lives. Although there are a few survivors, eyewitness accounts have it that the death toll is huge and some persons are still missing.
Lives wey don't go here more than 100. That 3 boats, they carry not less than 80 to 90 people. And the souls wey don't go here this morning now, even the ones who don't pick as they try to bring out this engine the way born, who don't pick so many. Not be the ones that will die for night where we park keep here.
When our crew visited the scene of the fire incident, some boat drivers were making frantic efforts to recover the remains of their badly damaged engines from the shallow end of the jetty. Completely devastated by the tragic incident, the boat's drivers call on the Rivers State government to come to their rescue.
If you assess the damage here, billions. We lost billions here.
What is very, very painful is that I've lost everything. That is just for property alone. No, we did not talk about souls.
Among the dead is a pregnant woman and many children, some of whom could not be accounted for at the time of filing this report. Some of those who witnessed the fire incident said the damage would have been minimal if there was a prompt emergency response from the fire service department.
This thing started around 12 o'clock in the night. We did not see fire service, nothing. It is the boys' area here that struggled to quench this fire.
If the government try provide fire service station for here, at that first boat they burn for there, they go fight this fire.
The recent fire incident at the Bile Boni Nembe jetty is a major emergency that requires response from the government and indeed non-governmental organizations. A youth leader in Rivers State, Comrade Wisabari Bani, wonders why the government has failed to reach out to victims of the fire incident. Comrade Bani says Governor Nyesom Wike has been negligent since the tragic incident occurred.
Governor Nyesom Wike, a man that was supposed to be here, visit the site, share the pains and the burden with the people, has jetted out of Port Harcourt, going about his campaign programs, leaving the people here, the people he was elected to serve, to lead.
The latest fire incident at the Nembe Boni jetty comes on the heels of a previous fire explosion at the same venue in November 2021. Last year's fire incident at the jetty, which claimed no fewer than 10 lives, reportedly occurred in a boat conveying stolen petroleum products from Kula to Port Harcourt. A youth leader in Boni, Emmanuel Fine Country, wants the Rivers State government to act swiftly to avert a reoccurrence of tragedy at the Boni Nembe jetty.
This is like a recurring issue at that particular jetty. I don't really know if it is because that place is now being regulated. Let the governor use some other measures to checkmate the activities going on within that place, so lives and properties will be well secured around that place.
It would be recalled that Governor Wike had in his New Year's statewide broadcast on the 1st of January 2022 declared a manhunt for artisanal crude oil refiners whose activities in the month of November 2021 sparked off 5 fire incidents in a space of 1 week.
I've directed the chairman of Port Harcourt City Local Government Council to go after all the illegal crude oil refining sites along Creek Road and all adjoining areas of the Port Harcourt City and shut them down with immediate effect. Furthermore, all local government chairmen are directed to work with community leaders to locate and identify those behind all illegal bunkering and crude oil refining sites in their localities and report to my office for further action.
The many tragedies caused by the operations notwithstanding, artisanal crude oil refiners have been unrelenting and appear to be having a field day in Rivers State and elsewhere in the Niger Delta. Expectedly, this development has given rise to several questions. Are the artisanal refiners faceless and unidentifiable in communities where they operate? Are they so powerful that the government cannot bring them to justice? Is it possible that they have the backing of some kind of official compromise from certain quarters? These questions are begging for an immediate response from relevant authorities in any meaningful attempt to deal with what has become a serious threat to human safety and security in the Niger Delta.
Inside the Niger Delta.
And with that report, we'll draw the curtain on the program. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back same time, same station next week. Until then, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at NDN-TV Nigeria. Until next week, I am Mamode Akura, thanking you for staying tuned. Bye for now.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
On Plus TV News now. Court sacks ex-speaker Dogara from National Assembly for defecting to ruling party. Tunisian President Said seizes control of Electoral Commission. United Nations chief to visit Moscow on Tuesday and meet Putin. Hello and welcome. Good evening, I'm Tolu Ojomi and this is the news now. A federal high court in Abuja today ordered former Speaker, House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara to vacate his seat as a member representing Das, Tafawa Balewa and Bogoro Federal Constituency of Bauchi State. Justice Donatus Okoro declared that having defected from the PDP to the APC, Dogara was no longer qualified to occupy the seat by virtue of Section 68, subsection 1G of the Constitution. Justice Okoro aligned with the argument of the PDP that by defecting from the party that sponsored him to the 9th National Assembly before the expiration of his tenure, Dogara ought to vacate that seat. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, former senator representing Rivers Southeast Senatorial District, Magnus Abe, has called on Nigerian youths to participate actively in politics for better leaders. Senator Abe said there is a need for youths to get their voters' cards in order to choose a leader of their choice during the 2023 elections. The report.
Former senator representing Rivers Southeast, Magnus Abe, said the 2023 general elections would be another opportunity for Nigerians to come together and elect a government of their choice. Senator Abe stated this in Gokana, where he called on youth to take active participation in governance, as it is important for everyone to have a sense of inclusion in the state and at the national level.
In a democracy, if you don't vote, you are not part of it. If you don't vote, you are useless. You cannot determine your own future, and you cannot contribute meaningfully to any conversation about the future. We must register and we must vote.
Senator Abe also called for support for Asiwaju Bola Tinubu's presidential ambition. He said Tinubu is qualified to bring the desired change in the country.
Look at what they call Lagos Free Zone area. That is a thought that a man put together 20-something years in advance. He's already thinking and working for his people. We don't want people who always start things and don't finish them.
Former Rivers State Chief of Staff, Tony Okocha, shares this sentiment as well. He solicits support for Asiwaju Tinubu.
When we have no father and mother somebody gave us a shoulder to lean on. Who gave us that shoulder to lean on in Rivers State? All of you remember? Yes. Who did that? That day he asked one question, I remember. Our own leader went to our brother's house to go and warn him not to there. So you can see that going to school is in the mind, not just going to university.
Hopefully, citizens will take the sensitization to people in every nook and cranny of the state to understand that the power to choose who leads them in 2023 is in their hands.
Meanwhile, former President Goodluck Jonathan has said he is yet to declare for the 2023 presidency, as the process to that effect is ongoing. He spoke while playing host to a large crowd of supporters, mostly youths and women, who embarked on solidarity march to his office in Abuja, persuading him to declare for the 2023 presidency. Leaders of the placard-carrying supporters took turns to ask the former president to return to office in 2023, promising to work for his victory at the polls. We're now being joined by security expert Terence Kwanum. Also joining us is economist Osalama Okwofo. Thanks for joining us. Are you there? Let's move on till we're able to establish connection with our guests tonight. Suspected herdsmen have killed farmers in Waya, Jato Aka, Turan, Kwande local government area. A member of the community, Lawrence Akerugwa, said about 10 corpses of victims of the attack have been recovered so far. Chairperson of Kwande local government chairman, Honorable Tato Chan-son, also confirmed the recovery of 8 bodies, which is said have been deposited at a mortuary. The police command in Imo State has arrested a suspected member of the Eastern Security Network ESN, one Simeon Onigbo, an alleged bomb manufacturer for the group. In a statement, the Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Bade, said that the suspect had since confessed to the crime and promised to reveal the hideouts of the terror group. The statement alleged that Onigbo produces locally made bombs used in attacking police divisions and other government facilities in Imo State. In the meantime, police authorities have declared 12 persons wanted in connection with the violence in Isu and Ioja, a community in Anambra State. The Force Public Relations Officer Olumiwa Adejobi announced this in a statement on Friday at the Force headquarters in Abuja. Adejobi listed the suspects to include Edward Okoye, is also known as Stone, Donatus Okeke, Oyemazi Ngeni, Onyebuchi Nwekizu Okoye, Nonso Ebo, and others. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has once again issued fresh directives to security agencies in the country to rescue all those in captivity across the country and advance the acquisition of intelligence. The National Security Advisor, Babagana Monguno, told State House correspondents after the Security Council meeting that the president was not happy with the prevailing security situation. According to him, the last straw was a recent attack on the Abuja-Kaduna train, leading to the killing of some passengers and kidnapping of scores.
Threat has to be contained. It has to be contained collectively by both the armed forces as well as the constabulary forces, the Nigerian police force, the civil defense, but the intelligence agencies also have been directed to enhance the acquisition of intelligence. And I need to make it very, very clear. I have to be very honest. Unless the wider society, right down to the local governments, are willing to give the type of information that is needed to block the activities of these criminals, this situation will continue to linger beyond whatever time frame we're looking at.
The National Union of Road Transport Workers has set up a 9-man caretaker committee to coordinate its operations in Lagos State. This came more than a month after the Lagos State government banned any RTW activities in the state. Also, any RTW dissolved its Lagos State Council under Oluomo on April 6. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, today threatened to sue President Muhammadu Buhari's administration over the lingering strike embarked upon by ASU. SERAP said it's suing the Buhari administration for refusing to end the ongoing ASU strike. The body said the refusal of the federal government to end the strike was a violation of the legal obligation to provide access to higher education for Nigerians. ASU embarked on a 1-month warning strike on February 14 and extended it by another 2 months over the alleged failure of the government to fulfill its agreements with ASU. Since then, students have been at home waiting for the strike to be called off. It's more than 2 months since the union, ASU, embarked on a strike, causing the halt of academic activities across all public universities in the country. The absence of students on campus has undoubtedly affected business activities within and around school environments. Our correspondent Stephen Enoch filed in this report. We'll bring you that report in the course of the bulletin. Hopefully, parents have been urged to intensify efforts on the parenting skills and to thoroughly monitor their children in order to build responsible future leaders. The Commissioner of Police, Ogun State Command, Lanre Bankole, who made this known during the Ramadan lecture of the command, noted that parents have a huge role to play in the moral upbringing of their children. Other speakers want religious leaders and other stakeholders to come together and find a lasting solution to the increasing rate of crime in society, especially among youths and children.
We enjoin parents to pay particular attention to the activities of their children, whether at home or elsewhere. This will no doubt reduce the incidence of crimes and criminality amongst the youth. All the vices in our society, all crime are local. All adults, they are from one family or another.
We have found out that every parent must be on the lookout for their children, whether at home, in school, within the community, and wherever they find themselves, because that's about the only legacy we can leave after leaving this world. And so, and of course, the environment also shows that the police are not relenting in their effort.
Let's quickly take you back to that story on former President Goodluck Jonathan, who is yet to declare for 2023 presidency. As he says, his process of declaring is still ongoing. He spoke while playing host to a large crowd of supporters, mostly youth and women, who embarked on solidarity march to his office in Abuja. They were persuading him to declare for the 2023 presidency. Leaders of the placard-carrying supporters took turns to ask the former president to return to office in 2023, promising to work for his victory at the polls. We're now being joined by an economist, Osalama Okwofo, to have a discussion with us around this and the current administration. You're welcome. Good evening.
Thanks for having me. Good evening.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Now, we want to have, we hope to have a robust discussion with you, but let's have a cursory look first at the current administration, the economic policies of this administration compared to that of Goodluck Jonathan administration.
Okay, essentially it's like you asking a sports pundit or analyst to compare the Brazilian national football team with that of Zimbabwe.
Oh, really?
I mean, yes. There's no basis for comparison. Now, if you look at where we were under the Jonathan administration, the Nigerian economy was the third fastest growing economy globally. When it was rebased, it became #1 in Africa. It was the 26th largest economy globally. Of course, our GDP was in excess of $500 billion. Inflation, unemployment were single digits. Our foreign reserve, was relatively quite robust. And then if you look at the country's debt rates, I mean, it was relatively low. All those have been reversed, since the coming of this administration in 2015. So it's a government and an administration that is pursuing essentially economic policies that are not helping the economy to grow. It's quite robust in the area of taxation, and you cannot tax any economy to prosperity, and that is the truth. Because what are you doing essentially? You are applying a contractionary fiscal policy. Yeah, when you tax and tax and tax, it essentially does mean also that investable funds that would have been in the economy to deploy for growth and all that, it's been emasculated. So it's therefore it's not a surprise. Therefore, when you just oppose where we were under the Jonathan regime and this administration, the poverty level has increased tremendously. Nigeria used to be an investor's delight. Nobody wants to come to invest in Nigeria anymore. Outside the issues of insecurity, which of course, no society grows in an atmosphere of uncertainty. There's also the policies, if they even do exist, of this government. They don't encourage investment. And like I even advise people now, I said the best thing you can do for yourself is just keep your money in the bank. It may not earn you interest, but at least you're not running the risk of losing your entire capital, because the economy is not in a good place, and the policies of this government are not helping investors, entrepreneurs to do well.
Okay.
A lot of people have lost their jobs, and employment level is very high. So it's little wonder, therefore, going by your report now, why people are now going back to Goodluck Jonathan, who was initially crucified as being incompetent, to come back to prison. So it's not like he's the savior of Nigeria.
Okay, I'm happy you talked about investors withdrawing from the country. When we look at security situation and some other, the harsh business environment, one can understand the reasons for these capital flights. Now, you also talked about our foreign reserves. In 2018, our foreign reserves stood at $47 billion in 2018. That was the highest in a long time. As of March this year, just last month, $39.9 billion is what our foreign reserve has come down to. This is particularly sad. What are the factors responsible? And what can we do about this?
No, the issues of foreign reserve, it's I don't get hung up on it because there are certain factors that are exogenous and of course are not within our control. What drives our foreign reserve? The sale of crude oil. We are essentially an oil exporting economy. Don't forget again then that the period, the later part that you talked about, we had the COVID crisis. There was global shutdown. Businesses a lot of transactions didn't take place. Things are beginning to pick up now. So we can actually attribute that to the global economic crisis.
But that's not sorry to cut in, that's not the only factor responsible for the strength of foreign reserves. Capital flight is another factor. Have you looked at that? Then our debt servicing burden. We keep earmarking a lot of money every year in our budget to service our national debt. This is not helping either. What about these factors?
Yeah, I didn't say that was the only factor. I just looked at the major factor. Even we can throw up a plethora of factors. I did talk about our huge external debt. Of course, you're servicing. You have to service it. Quite a huge chunk of our national budget in recent years is earmarked towards debt servicing. Of course, where do you get the funds to service your debt? From your income, right?
Yeah.
And then when there's a shortfall in that income, of course, you go to your reserve. It's like, I mean, let's equate it to you as an individual. You have your savings, right? And then you have your expenses. If by the middle of the month you're not able to meet your bill, but you have some money saved, of course you will start to go into your savings. So that's part of what is going on, you know. But what drives the savings? What drives the foreign reserve? It's your earning, your income from your international trading transactions. And I'm saying that has dipped mostly because of the fact that there was a global shutdown as a result of the COVID situation. You know. So there's a cause and an effect. That's essentially what I tried to push forward.
Prices are skyrocketing. You know why? Inflation.
Absolutely.
You want to touch on the impact of inflation on our salaries, on our incomes as individuals, on per capita income?
Yeah, so the question therefore is, what is inflation? Inflation is a general rise in price. So when there's a general rise in price, your productivity level is down, just like I adduced to earlier, that our entrepreneurs are not encouraged. A lot of the industries you have around the shutdown, unemployment levels are high. It means that you don't have a lot of, we don't have so much of a transactional economy. So inflation, of course, would kick in because our production cost is high. Income levels are low, and then we now have too few goods being chased by. You have a situation where you have too much money, as it were, chasing too few goods. You know, so that is where we are. There's to some extent some money. Yeah, you're right. Again, because we look at our GDP is as it stands right now is over 442 billion. So I mean that's relatively robust. Okay, it's even higher than that of Egypt. Let's not talk about Ukraine. They're having the crisis right now. But it's a relatively robust economy. If, you know, ceteris paribus, I mean, all things are equal, you know. So, but because we are not producing as we should do right now, so that's why you have a general rise in price. And of course, when that happens, there's competition for the few goods, and then prices of course will shoot up. In a situation where your income level is plateaued, is stagnant, you know, of course it will impact on the quantity of goods, the amount of goods and or services, you know, that you can actually attract, you know, with a clearly static income level.
Mr. Kofo, that's my last question to you, yes, but let me just bring this in, because when you say that inflation is a situation where there's too much money in circulation. Before I acquainted myself with economic variables, and for those who are not familiar with the forces of demand and supply, you may want to explain, because someone is thinking, too much money in circulation, but it's not enough for me. So do you want to break it down in a layman's language so everybody can understand what we're talking about here? That, okay, there's too much money in circulation, so why then is that situation not giving us enough?
Yeah, I already said you have seemingly too much money. If you notice, I was a bit I wasn't so robust in my assertion of that. You know, that's why I said as it were, and then I had to make an allusion to where our GDP position is vis-a-vis some other countries. Especially, I made a comparison with Egypt. You know, but yeah, there is money relatively in circulation, but we are not a producer economy. And even right now, just take a drive around these industrial complexes of Nigeria. You hardly see production going on, and then we import more goods that we consume. And the way things are right now, that's when you juxtapose, you know, that with our foreign exchange, you know, the value of the naira vis-a-vis the major currencies of the world, such as the dollar, the pound sterling, and even the yen. And then you can imagine how much money you now need to pay to consume maybe even similar goods that you used to consume before, you know.
Thank you.
But because your purchasing power is weak, is low, you know, you cannot afford, maybe the same quantity that you used to, maybe a year, 2 or even 3 years ago. So I think the major crisis we have is that whereas there may seem to be some level of purchasing power in your pocket, I mean, there's no way you have zero purchasing power.
Thank you.
That doesn't happen.
That
but then the
sounds
question, therefore, is the little that you even have in your pocket, what value of goods and even of services does it attract?
Thank
So
you.
that's where the challenge is, really.
Thank you. That sounds like what you economists call demand pull inflation, if I'm right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Moving on, the Cooperative Society of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense School, NSCDC, Kaduna State Command, has said that it will embark on gas plant business to generate more revenues for its members in the state. It says this would go a long way in boosting the capital base of the society and also guarantee more investment opportunities to meet the yearnings and aspirations of members. Plus TV's Habila Darufai, filed in this report, has presented from our studios.
The cooperative society in any establishment has been a forerunner in helping to meet the welfare needs of the staff in the organization, as members invest to have a future benefit after retirement. The commandant of NSCDC Kaduna State Command, Godwin Maybe, says the welfare of its personnel is paramount, and so the command would ensure that its personnel have their benefits after retirement and even the families of the deceased. He lauded the management of the society for being transparent and accountable in issuing checks to the retirees.
It is a very good record-keeping system, and that is the bedrock of every system. Accountability and sincerity of purpose in doing anything one is doing. And they also take into account the welfare of their members. They are bought items. In doing that, you are also increasing the welfare of members.
On his part, the president, NSCDC Cooperative Society, Kaduna Command, ASCI Sunday Aruna, encouraged members to remain focused and steadfast in working to strengthen and lift the society to a greater height. He called on those who are still contributing below the stipulated 5% to step up their contributions in order to have maximum benefit.
It's very easy, and at the end, in fact, I can tell you that members are really, really happy because it has improved their welfare, give them opportunity to some of them to have houses. Before, they always find it difficult when it has to do with issue of accommodation. But with this, coming of them are now landlord to themselves. First person we give a check is a deceased, a check to a next of kin of a deceased member of the cooperative. One person is to a retiree. It's for them to see reason, or else this kind of benefit they will not benefit from it.
Some of the next of kins and retirees expressed their satisfaction, shedding tears of joy as they received their checks. They assured they'd make a good use of it for the benefit of their entire families.
I'm sad, but I'm happy. Like me, my mother died, we don't have anything, but now this one can even keep us to survive or something. Use it for important thing. If I open a business and then I might continue my education, through the business I'll be paying for it.
High point of the event was the presentation of checks to the families of the deceased and other items to the deserving members of the society.
Google and cable landing partner West Indian Ocean Cable Company announced the landing in Lagos, Nigeria, of the state-of-the-art Equano subsea cable, which will become a critical element in meeting Nigeria's current and future international connectivity demands. Named after Nigerian-born writer and abolitionist Oluwada Equano, the Equano cable will help support further digital transformation in Nigeria, a country which has produced 5 startup unicorns. These are companies now valued at more than $1 billion in the past 5 years. Funmi Onuafaje tells us more with this report.
Internet availability and its use across Nigeria has not only connected but created and boosted a digital economy. The opportunities offered by digital penetration are limitless, top of which is job creation on the front and back ends of business. The recent landing of the Equano Sea cable in Nigeria upskills improved data penetration at a cheaper rate nationwide.
When you think about end-to-end internet connectivity, having this additional capacity really ensures that there's a drop in prices when you consider bandwidth going internationally. We'll be looking to collaborate with different providers and telcos to carry that capacity, distribute that capacity internally. Now that's based on research and analysis, has the potential to bring down retail prices by over 20% and also offer 6 times more internet speed.
Lagos is an attractive tech hub in Africa, and the economic impact of this cable system will create more jobs and increase her GDP.
Over the next 3 years, over 1.5 million jobs will be created by investments that we're launching here today. And in direct GDP, we're looking at investment of about $10 billion into our GDP over the next 3 to 4 years. These are no small numbers at all. And I think it's important, that we realize that the economy of Nigeria is certainly moving away completely from an oil-dependent economy to a digital economy.
Modern submarine cables use fiber optic technology. Deployment of this new technology requires teaching locals new skill for effective penetration.
We need here in Lagos people to man the landing station and make sure it's kept operationally in good order. So we have to have some specific skills to work on the equipment, and we provide training for that. And we'll be recruiting local people to work in the landing station in the data center and train them up. It's a very highly skilled role, but we'll provide all that kind of training over the coming months.
The Equano's cable is named after a Nigerian-born writer and abolitionist, Oluwada Equano, who was enslaved as a boy. The arrival of this cable in Lagos, Nigeria, is Equano's symbolic return that will bring in flourishing new possibilities.
In the meantime, the music industry has evolved with the advent of digital distribution, and Spotify, one of the major global music streaming platforms, has just been officially launched in Nigeria. Our reporter Ifeolu Oshuke was there.
The Nigerian music industry has evolved with the advent of digital distribution, with many of the major global music streaming platforms launching in Nigeria. The impact of COVID affected many industries, including the streaming platforms as well.
We've been in the grips of a crazy economic and social thing called COVID for the last 2 years, which has made it impossible for us to operate in the way that we normally would. Only now are you starting to see those restrictions. There was a time I wasn't even allowed to come into Nigeria.
One of the many benefits of streaming is ensuring money goes directly to the artist and local music is spread across the globe.
It has helped me in a whole lot of ways because my songs now, my music, it's been streamed in a series of places that I'm not even aware of. That's how amazing it is. That's how amazing it's getting. Right? That's how amazing the streaming platforms are just taking our music, taking Afrobeats, flying to different regions of the world.
I was not born in the old music industry, first of all, but I know that it's always been like a crazy thing to distribute your music into stores where people can find them. But now that we have like streaming and these platforms, now music is available to everybody at the click of a button. So now it's easier for somebody like me with zero budget, zero money, to have my music with somebody in France, to have streams from somebody in Uruguay. Do you understand? It's more broadened, the amount of reach that an unknown artist can have now. Do you understand? So it makes things a lot more easy.
Spotify is the biggest streaming platform in the world, with over 300 million paid subscribers, right? That's something big, and that means that you have a large total addressable market, potentially.
We can't wait to see how this would impact the Nigerian music industry. Ifeoluwa Oshike for Plus TV Africa.
A little away from music, we come back to politics, and as political parties put price tags on the presidential phones for aspirants, Nigerians react to this amount, and that's on Street Views. Take a listen.
As a people, these are things that we need to take into consideration when making our choice of a party to support or the candidates to support, because there is consequence to such things being put in place. You don't expect someone that pays a huge price and buys from his pocket to actually then not want to recoup that money. Where do they get such money from to buy just a form where it's not guaranteed you're going to win? So, as citizens, we need to be watchful of that and make our decisions.
It's not ideal, especially if you look at what's going on in the country now. 100 million is a lot of money. I don't want to use the word absorb, but it's a lot of money. And the consideration is, for me, is what's the basis? How did you come about 100 million? I think the other parties are doing 40 million, 35. Even 10 million is a lot of money, given the fact that we're looking for a leader now who doesn't necessarily have to have all the way to do financially, but a leader who knows what it is that the country needs or is expected of him.
They are making the money for the party. The party belongs to the money belongs to the party. So you can never say maybe it's wrong or it's right. Because even though they say it's a trillion. If you have the power, you do it, you pay it.
It doesn't make any sense at all. That's too much. At least there have been like 50,000 at least. Actually, that's too much. 100 million, no. 100 million, 100,000, I don't understand. 100 million, no, that's too much. No, it's too much. No.
If a Nigerian, an individual will bring out 100 million from his purse to buy for form to run for the presidency, meaning that he has trillions of naira in his account. Therefore, EFCC is supposed to go there and find out what is working. If you happen to buy the form too, what are you going there to do? You must bring your money back, put your interest before you think of others.
That's ridiculous. In fact, when I heard the news, and I'm wondering, where do they want like genuine people to actually get this kind of money? People that can afford it are people that are actually stealing. The other time, a certain man did a burial and EFCC invited him over to probe him because of the money he spent for the burial. So EFCC should also invite these ones that are able to buy these forms and then probe them and ask them where they got that money from, because you can't tell me it's not it's genuine. Even if it's genuine, when they enter now, they will want to steal and get back that money.
Still ahead, former Kenya President Kibaki dies at 90. Details when we return. Please stay with us.
Creative Industry Power presents one event, 4 locations, 7 days, 10 countries, 168 hours of fun in the city of Lagos. It's the Creative Industry Festival, C-Fest, from the 1st of May to the 7th of May, 2022. Get ready to rock and be rocked the creative way. For more details, visit www.festival.creativeindustrygroup.ng.com. For advert bookings and exhibition stands, call 0913-569-9010. Maximum security guaranteed. C-Fest 2022, powered by Creative Industry Power.
Supported by PlusTvAfrica.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games, Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Due to other parts of Africa, Mali's ruling junta has announced the launch of a 2-year transition process before elections are held in defiance of West African bloc patterns. The military seized power in August 2020 and has been under pressure to return the nation to democratic rule. The Prime Minister installed by Mali's military said it cannot go below 24 months unless it decides to postpone or do not carry out certain actions until the end. From there, go to Tunisia, and President has seized control of the country's election commission on Friday, saying it will replace most of its members. It's a move that will entrench his one-man rule and cast doubt on electoral integrity. The commission head, Nabil Baffin, told reporters that President Kais Said's decree was a blow to the democratic gains of the country's 2011 revolution and meant the body was no longer independent. From there, we move to Kenya, and former Kenyan President Mwai Kibaki, who led the East African country for more than a decade, has died. He was 90. His successor, Uhuru Kenyatta, who made the announcement in an address on state television, ordered a period of national mourning until sunset on the day Kibaki is to be buried, with all flags to be flown at half-mast. Details in this report.
Kenya's third president, Mwai Kibaki, has died aged 90, Kenya's incumbent leader, Uhuru Kenyatta, said on Friday. Kibaki, who served from 2003 to 2013, was credited with reviving Kenya's ailing economy through fiscal prudence and infrastructure projects. But his legacy was tarnished by his disputed 2007 re-election. Opposition leader Raila Odinga had been ahead by several 100,000 votes when the Election Commission abruptly stopped announcing results and ejected journalists. Hours later, the commission announced Kibaki had won by a narrow margin, and he was hurriedly sworn in. Most observers said the elections were flawed. Odinga called for protests, sparking a deadly police crackdown. 1,250 people died in the violence. Former UN Chief Kofi Annan finally brokered a peace deal between Kibaki and Odinga, resulting in a grand coalition government, with Odinga as Prime Minister. Kibaki, a former economics lecturer, had served as Finance Minister under Kenya's first 2 presidents, Jomo Kenyatta and Daniel Arap Moi. Uhuru Kenyatta has ordered a mourning period to honour Kibaki, during which flags will be flown at half-mast.
Now, the 7 countries of the East African Community, EAC, have agreed to set up a regional military force. They're trying to end decades of bloodshed caused by militant activity in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Despite billions of dollars spent on one of the United Nations' largest peacekeeping forces, more than 120 rebel groups continue to operate across large swathes of East Congo. Tanzania already contributes 835 troops to the UN's peacekeeping mission, while Kenya contributes 250. A Somali man went on trial on Friday over the killing of 3 people and injuring of several others in a stabbing attack in southern Germany last June. They want to know whether he should be held in a closed psychiatric facility. Investigators believe the man was mentally ill at the time of the attack in the city of Wolfsburg, and so the trial will establish whether he can be held criminally culpable. He has been charged with murder, attempted murder, and serious assault. Now, Rwandan President Paul Kagame has denied allegations that his country is trading human beings. This is the president's first comment on Rwanda's deal with the UK on migrants. The deal requires that asylum seekers arriving in the UK on small boats be relocated to Rwanda for processing and resettlement. The controversial £120 million, some $15 million, deal has attracted criticisms from different angles, mostly the opposition. South Africa has recorded a hike in coronavirus cases, with 4,406 infections reported in the past 24 hours. In previous days, the number of infections was around 1,500 in 24 hours, falling below 1,000 cases on Monday. Hospital admissions have also increased over the same period, but not coronavirus-related deaths in hospitals. In early March, the country had gone 48 hours without a COVID-related death, the first time this had happened since May 2020. South Africa is the African country officially most affected by the virus, with more than 3.7 million cases and over 100,200 deaths. Let's go outside Africa now. One person was killed and 6 wounded in the Ukrainian village of Kartik in Kharkiv region today in a missile strike. Elsewhere, in Kharkiv city, Russian shell fire hit the main Barabashevo market. Ambulance services said there had been casualties, but no details were available yet. A wedding hall and a residential building were also struck. Russia denies targeting civilians and says, without evidence, that signs of atrocities committed by its soldiers were only faked. Still in Ukraine, the Ministry of Defense accused Russia today of planning to draft Ukrainian nationals to replace lost Russian troops. It also plans to stage plebiscites that could see southern regions of Ukraine become part of Russia. A Russian general said today that Moscow wanted to seize all of southern and eastern Ukraine for wider war aims that it had acknowledged. Away from plebiscites in Ukraine, the United Nations Human Rights Office said today that there was growing evidence of Russian war crimes still in Ukraine. This includes signs of indiscriminate shelling and summary executions, while it said Ukraine also appeared to have used weapons with indiscriminate effects. Take a listen.
The mission has received more than 300 allegations of killings of civilians in towns in the regions of Kiev, Chernihiv, Kharkiv, and Sumy, all under the control of Russian armed forces in late February and in early March. Willful killing of protected persons, including summary executions, are gross violations of international human rights law and serious violations of international humanitarian law, and amount to war crimes.
Up next, price of cooking gas soars by 83.62% in 1 year. We'll bring you that in business news after the short break. Stay with us.
Welcome to Business News. I'm Loretta Chiogo. The National Bureau of Statistics has disclosed in its report that the average retail price of cooking gas increased by 83.62% from 2,057 naira 71 kobo in March 2021. The March 2022 report also revealed the average price for refilling of 5 kg cooking gas, which stood at 3,778 naira 30 kobo in March 2022 from 3,708 naira 58 kobo recorded in February 2022, showing an increase of 1.88% month on month. The federal government has announced the launch of 5 national steering committees for donor-funded projects implemented by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development to boost food security and create jobs. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Abubakar, who made the announcement, stated that the donor-funded projects was a significant milestone for the development of Nigeria's food value chain. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has explained why the Apex Bank could not freely float the exchange rate despite pressure from the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, IMF. Emefiele said that freely floating the exchange rate would lead to some uncontrollable spiral effect on Nigeria's exchange rate. He stressed that different countries have different challenges and must develop solutions that would help address those challenges. The CBN would continue to make IMF and World Bank understand the peculiar situations that Nigeria faces and how to tackle them for the progress of the economy. The stock market of the Nigerian Exchange Limited sustained its positive momentum for the third consecutive session as market capitalization gained 46 billion naira over investors. The gain recorded lifted the NGX All Shares Index by 85.15 basis points, which is 0.88%, to close at 48,223.86 basis points, the highest point since September 16, 2008. Consequently, the overall market capitalization value gained 46 billion naira to close at 25,998 trillion naira. And that's business news. It's back to the main news.
We'll now bring you some entertainment news. Stay with us.
And in entertainment, Jada Pinkett Smith is back with a Red Table Talk for Season 5. The Facebook series made brief reference to her husband, Will Smith's Oscar slap at the top of the latest episode. The statement reads, considering all that has happened in the last few weeks, the Smith has been focused on deep healing. Some of the discoveries around our healing will be shared at the table when the time comes. Until then, the table will continue offering itself to powerful, inspiring, and healing testimonies like that of our incredibly impressive first guest. The legendary American rapper Snoop Dogg appeared on the popular podcast Drink Champs. During the conversation, he revealed that his latest album made $21 million in the metaverse and $34,000 in real life. He released BODL, his latest album, as an NFT in February 2022, being his third album but 23 years apart from his second on Death Row Records. Alec Baldwin believes he has been cleared following an investigation into the accidental shooting on the sets of Rust after the New Mexico Occupational Health and Safety Bureau released the findings of their 6-month investigation. The actor responded by saying that the report exonerates him. A lawyer for Alec said in a statement released via the actor's Instagram that the report recognizes that Baldwin's authority on the production was limited to approving script changes and creative casting. And that's all in entertainment. I am Ifeoluwa Oshinke.
Up next is sports. Stay with us.
And now sports. The Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, has warned coaches competing in the MTN MPFL La Liga Under 15 tournament at Remo Stadium in Ikenne, Ogun State, to stay above board and avoid corrupt practices. The youth tournament, which had its first edition in 2017, produced some young footballers for the country. Sheyi Akiomi, NFF First Vice President, said yesterday at a press conference to unveil the 2022 edition that he will personally go after any coach who is reported to be involved in sharp practices to help his team. The tournament will feature under 15 teams from MPFL teams. According to Akiomi, the foundation of the nation's football is in the youth, and any coach caught attempting to bribe referees for his team will be prosecuted. Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp believes the newly appointed Erik ten Hag could spark the beginning of Manchester United's rise back to the top of the English football. Klopp's side thumped United 4-0 on Tuesday, which totaled their aggregate scoreline over both league games this season to a staggering 9-0, the highest recorded difference between the two clubs. Substantial changes are to be made if the 13-time Premier League winners are to be battling it out at the top of the table once more, and Ten Hag's appointment on Thursday could be the first step. The German believes that now they have a confirmed manager in place that can look to plan for next season and build for years ahead.
I would say they know now probably what they want to do in the future. They can now start with whatever they want to do for the next season, for the next years. I don't know how long he signed. That's it.
Lewis Hamilton spoke on Friday of his excitement in joining a bid to buy Premier League side Chelsea, saying he was a lifelong soccer fan who had once wanted to be a professional player and whose sister forced him to support Arsenal as a kid. The 7-time Formula One champion told reporters at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix that he had wanted to try out for fourth this tier side, Stevenage, before motor racing took over his life. The Britain and tennis great Serena Williams have joined former Liverpool chairman Martin Broughton's construction, which also includes World Athletics president Sebastian Coe and other wealthy investors in bidding for the West Londoners.
Yeah, I mean, there's a long, long way to go. You've seen in the previous, at least the previous year, you've seen how much happens in a season. Still so many races to go. There's still time for us to turn this around. There's still time for us to fix this car and extract the full potential. And that's what I know that all the team are working flat out to try to achieve.
And that's all from the world of sports. My name is Wally Scott. Do have yourself a wonderful weekend.
And the main news again. Court sacks ex-Speaker Dogara from National Assembly for defecting to ruling party. Tunisian President Said has now seized control of the country's electoral commission. And the United Nations chief will visit Moscow on Tuesday, is also to meet Putin. That's the news now. For more stories, please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I'm Tolu Ojeomi. Thanks for watching and do have a good night.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you.